just to let people know I'm on my way to the rally. It should start about 1 o'clock. I'm on the tube at the moment, so this is probably not going to last very long. Just get people, retweet it, get people watching for 1 p.m. And if you're coming to London, if you can be in London, we're at Richmond Terrace, which is directly opposite Downing Street. So just look for the crowd of several thousand people. Okay, just get people watching for 1 p.m. Welcome everybody, walking along Whitehall at the moment. Just a little bit late because of the tube running. It takes a long time. Heading for Richmond Terrace, which I'm told is directly opposite Downing Street, so I'll head for Downing Street and it'll be on this side. Beautiful day here in London. Hopefully I won't miss too much. The rally started at 1 o'clock, or supposedly. It's about 7 minutes past now. There's the cenotaph. While I'm walking, it's a chance to give you my opinion on these 3 attacks yesterday. I'm not suggesting they're false flags in the same way that Sandy Hook or the Boston bombing are so obviously false flags. But it is so convenient. We have ISIS supplying 3 attacks just when there are so many things in motion that the governments of the world want the people to be distracted from. It's not just that are outing the paedophiles, it's also that TTIP is getting a great deal of interest at last. It's also that on a more local level that the fracking decision in Lancashire is being held early next week against enormous public pressure. There's Downing Street. So where's Richmond Terrace? There's a little demonstration about Eritrea. So I think that must be Richmond Terrace there. And what's this? Here we've got some demonstrations about Syria, I believe. Stop supporting terrorism in Iraq's government. That's a fairly big demonstration. I reckon it's down this way. Oh, is this Richmond Terrace? I wonder. Let's have a look. Have a quick check out on this one. Probably not this one, but. Well, you know, you've got people like Susan running around, you've got little copycat groups running around. Yes, Stop UK. It is this. This is Richmond Terrace.
We're going to stop people from doing it. Now, what does that say about our government, really? What does that say? That they're more interested in protecting the people that are going to offend against children. They're more interested in protecting those people than focusing on the real issue. I'm not the guy that can solve the problem. I'm just the guy that realised there was a problem and brought it out into the forefront and started getting people talking. And whether you agree with what I do or not, that's of no consequence to me. Doesn't matter. When you're talking about me or you're talking about what I do, you're talking about the issue. When you're talking about the issue, there's more people going to start talking about it. And hopefully, people like Mr. Cameron are going to start saying, well, can't really hide from this anymore. Let's start doing something about it, because I'm not going to go away. They can change legislation, they can do this, they can do that, but I'm going to stand here and I'm going to keep shouting my mouth off, and I'm going to keep using my profile that I've gained over the last few years to keep doing this. This isn't about me. I don't make any money from this. A lot of people think that I must be rolling it. I got paid for the film that came out last year. I'm not interested in money. It doesn't bother me. I'm interested in what the issue is. And the more that the police have tried to stop me, which they have, they've tried to stop me repeatedly, the more they try to stop me, that makes me want to carry on. That makes me want to push myself further, because why are they trying to stop us? Why are the government trying to stop me doing this? Why are the government not focusing on the real issue? So that's why I do what I do, and that's why I'm here today, to talk to, to hopefully you guys here can start pushing forward. All of us here are the ones that can make the change. Us here are the people that are going to push for Mr. Cameron and all the other idiots to start saying we've got to do something. And it starts with us. It starts with us, and it ends with those people. I've been Stinson and John. Thank you so much for your time. Cheers.
Thank you, Stinson. Okay, we have a very fluid list of speakers here, so I'm going to call out a name to see who wants to speak first. Okay, Karen, do you like to come next, or do you need a... No.
Yeah.
No, it's Karen. Are you Kaz or Karen? No, it's Karen on my list.
Yeah, Karen Gray.
Harsley.
All right, I should be down there.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
I think Karen Billings Gray.
She's here, okay, don't worry, but not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah. That's cool. That's what we want to do. I'm really interested.
But you're not ready yet, Karen, no. That's fine. Right, Phil Lafferty, where are you, honey? Come and speak. Give him a round of applause, everyone.
I'm just going to take my wide-angle lens off. I'll be back just as...
Everybody she knew, and everyone came. I sat at a table near the bar and heard a familiar voice, a voice I had not heard for a long time. And as I turned, I saw two men standing at the bar, a man and his son. The son was identical to his father when he was in his mid-20s, and I was looking immediately back to being a 10-year-old boy looking at my abuser. The abuser wasn't the son but the father. I thought it was a tall man that first abused me, but I'd never thought that I was a little boy at 10. But that made me believe he was a tall man. He wasn't tall, I was a small child. That moment haunts me. That was the moment I realised what had started a trail of destruction that had been with me all of my life. I was looking at the first man to have sexually abused me as a child. I was taller now, but sat low down and looking up from my seat, everything fell into place. I was that child again. Over the next few weeks, I had a complete breakdown, walking in a zombie state, prescribed Valium, and on the sick from my job for many months. Now, I understood the suicide attempts, the self-destruction when anything was good, the alienation I felt, the 2 years I spent in an intensive psychotherapy unit, the loneliness, the depressions and anxieties, and the diagnosis from the therapy unit of a complex multiple personality disorder, which these days is called a dissociative identity disorder. I was diagnosed with 14 identities and post-traumatic stress disorder, or as I thought of it, just all messed up inside, and I had to get on with life. My mother knew not of the sexual abuse, but of the change in me as I became a distant and solitary child, lost in my own world and sullen. That overriding and most helpful through it all was my sense of humour that saved me. It was from that 70th birthday party that I realised exactly what had been the root of my troubles throughout life. I was a victim of sexual abuse as a child. I was a victim, and by blocking everything off, I remained a victim. When I came off the Valium and stopped and looked at where I was, I started to get some fight back. Some of the old Philip, who hated to see people done wrong to and the wrongdoers getting away with it. It wasn't easy, not with all the identities constantly arguing and pushing and shoving to breathe a small space of life that was my existence. I had 14 identities, and they were all part of me that wanted to live some life. They all wanted to say who Philip was and what he was going to do, and including the self-destruct side. There was no court case, there was no trial. It was his word against mine, even his wife, my sudden, constant companion on the telephone, to help me through this, to support me, and no need to take it further, as they would help me through my difficult time. When she was asked to be questioned by the police, she said, "I have no idea what he is on about and will not make a statement until such another time as one of his other victims comes forward." That is, for me, the nearest I get to closure. From then I started to rebuild my life and got on with it again. Some years rolled on, and Jimmy Savile was exposed after death as a prolific sexual predator and paedophile. One by one, people came forward, and we all started to see the news and the headlines about the celebrities. One by one, childhood television favourites were picked off and exposed for what they had done to little boys and girls, and those paedophiles must have had protection, and how must have been protected. And what of the childhoods being torn asunder and left in pieces again? The trials and the repercussions from their actions, daily reminders of the abuse. Each and every survivor of abuse, reflecting on their own experience of being abused, being reminded daily as an adult now, but lost in the broken memories of childhood, and being reminded of the deceit, the damaging untruths, the sexual exploitation, and the early childhood steps into the destruction of innocence. And for myself, that led on to further atrocities that threatened my own existence, that without dissociative identity disorder, I could never have survived. That was when I started to petition for tougher sentencing regime for paedophiles. Paedophiles deserve to be locked up for a lot longer than they are being sentenced to, because they are allowed the privilege of being sentenced in the time that they abused. They were allowed to be sentenced for their crime in a time they gave each child they abused a life sentence. It could not and cannot be justified that the sentence is handed down to the rapists of childhood innocence, the children that society should protect, should nurture, and should keep from harm. I got my answer to that petition from Chris Grayling at the Ministry of Justice, who wrote to me, and I quote, "Laws should be prospective, not retrospective, because only then can laws be capable of guiding conduct in order that individuals can plan their lives. In other words, paedophiles can get on with their life." That petition was torn away when the general election began and Parliament was dissolved. As there was no government body to petition, there was no petition anymore. There are people in Parliament and around Parliament who have a lot to hide.
Yeah.
They are hiding.
Yeah.
They are scared, and they are running around forgetting wherever possible. They are, as I also believe, using counteractive measures to destroy any hope that survivors of abuse may have believed of the child sex abuse inquiry, in order to protect its highest ranks of bankable blackmail assets. For any fight for justice, action and answers, There are those working in opposition. They may even be walking amongst us today. Not necessarily to protect those paedophiles, but to protect the very establishment that they hold a greater esteem for than the children that they were destroying along the way. And protecting the establishment means protecting the paedophiles, because they are integral to the fundamentals of the establishment. And whilst that remains true, they remain beyond the law. There are people within the establishment who are afraid to speak out, to whistleblow, and those who would whistleblow need to be given the protection to do so. I am undeterred and have started a new petition directed at the new Minister of Justice. My MP, Nicky Morgan, has given full support for what I am doing and has given me permission to quote directly from her, and she has said, "I support all you are doing, and I will ensure your voice is heard at the highest levels of government." So there are some good people in the House that is crumbling and leaving rocks for us to sift through as they want a refit. They can have their damn refit. No stone unturned, said Cameron, and yet we see they are throwing out the rubble on top of the stones we need to unturn. I responded to the comments of Graham's letter. I disposed of the rubble of my earlier petition and built a new petition. A petition that has even been signed by some who questioned the retrospective element of my initial petition and now feel their questions have been answered. That petition can be signed on your smartphones, your tablets, your computers, online. In your browser, just type sign.philspetition.uk and you will see and can sign the petition. And please remember to press the share button so your friends can sign too. I've also started a group with like-minded people such as Jenny Tomlin and Esther Baker, also survivors of abuse in childhood. That is Reflections. And equally, we have been attacked and vilified for reasons that are beyond my comprehension. I realised early on that as a hard-working courier driver, yes, if you're listening, Emma Thornbury, a St George Cross flag-flying white van man, I cannot make London all the time, and so many others cannot make London all the time. Yet there are survivors everywhere. They are in our villages, our towns, our cities, further afield than London. Reflections is to give a collective voice to people in those regions, to ripple out town to town, region to region, to gradually sweep the country and give a voice to so many who are of the same situation. Reflections is a voice for people who haven't found theirs because they didn't realise anyone would be listening. Finally, can I ask another survivor to join me here? I was alone and now there are two of us. There are many of us. We are here today, and that is what today is all about. Standing side by side, united against abuse in childhood. Thank you for listening to me.
I'll be back in a second. Let's put the long lens on.
My teeth. I just ran off because I wanted to look at their stuff down there. Someone else having a demo, because obviously we all care about anyone who's saying anything about anything. I was abused by Brotherhood of Rural Artists, Mason sector. Graham Otherton got 2 years. I was taken out of the case because I mentioned mind control. I mentioned that they'd abused us as children to put us through the most traumatic thing to control as an adult. That could be to be a pole dancer, that can be to be another victim in some other way. I mentioned, I think 10 years ago, when we started the anti-child abuse rally in 1993. There used to be thousands of people then. It went wrong. They obviously split us up, they caused problems and everybody fell for it. We need to regroup, yes. Some of us need to do some pretty mental things to get this in the papers. Some of us are willing to do that, yeah? Others you can't, yeah? I'm used to getting battered by the police. I'm used to having fractured skulls, my teeth knocked out, death threats. I've had it since I was 4 years old. You know, Graham Otherton got 2 years. It took me 20 years of about 8 goes to get him to court in the first place. Peter Blake, David Mellor I used to mention up there, MP. In 1993, I was mentioning MPs that were involved in my abuse. I was mentioning famous people. We had thousands of people then. We've got a few people now because infiltration works. Agents, government agents work. It works. It split us up. So I think what we need at the moment is unity and let the kids speak. I can remember when we had that march, we didn't let kids speak. And I had a big row one day, and Belinda will confirm and everyone, that I just said, let the kids speak. You know, it was the kids wanted to speak and younger ones started coming up. And do you know what? Half of them were stronger than us. You know, if you want to heal yourself, you might notice, how come Minnie's not crying? She's not like, talk to your bleating, talk. No, I was like that. I decided to talk to the other personalities and give them jobs. Right? And to argue with them about when they're bad. That's not right and why. And then I turned one into Minnie, she was a singer. One was something else, one liked cooking, one, right. Well then use them, don't throw them away. Everything they give you that's meant to destroy you, turn it round and use it for good. Right? Sing, talk. Don't be silent, that's the other one. You're told you can't talk during your court case. I met a mother and daughter who could not speak to each other because the man who had abused the daughter tried to rape the mum. The daughter was having epileptic fits. I went up to her bedroom, got the epileptic fit tablets, took them down to the mum and said, talk to her, and threw them out the window. She phoned me up 2 weeks later and said, my daughter's epileptic fits have stopped. We're talking. You know, just talk about, every time you talk about your abuse, it gets a bit easier, doesn't it? And then the next time you talk about it, it's a bit less pain, less pain, less pain. So you can heal yourself. How you don't heal yourself is to get up in the morning, your first thought is going to be, I don't want to be, I want to commit suicide. Have a cup of tea, treat it as a bus, you're at a bus stop, that thought has just gone, you're not getting on that bus. Because guaranteed, by the time you've had your tea, you're going to go, I want to get the bastard to court. Excuse my swearing, I said I wouldn't swear. That is naughty. But these thoughts, these bad thoughts, think of them as a typewriter or a book. They end. They end. It's a bus going past, you're at the bus stop, don't get on it. Wait for the next bus, wait for the next one. Next bus, I want to kill myself. Next bus, my life's never going right. Next bus, they've turned my electricity off. Wait for the bus that goes, hey, guess what? Your mate's coming to dinner. We just wait for the next one to come. Okay, what we do is we home in on a bad memory. So we get bad memory and we sit there and we wallow in it all day. You don't have to. Because if you're patient enough, a good memory is going to come. Now, years ago, very long time ago, I think it was 1991, I started two organisations. One was Alice Out of Wonderland, because obviously paedophiles have Alice Day, and the pictures of me while I was getting abused are called Alice in Wonderland by these famous artists that hang in all the galleries around the world of me as Alice in Wonderland. Lewis Carroll was not a paedophile. Anyone who and I'm not even going to say the word paedophile, because that's their word. To file, to peddle, to keep files. So let's say child abuser, right? Lewis Carroll was not a child abuser. He gave Alice a penknife. And he said, when your brothers do touch you where you do not like, stab them in the thigh, it often deters. I think he wrote the book about her family. I think her family were touching her. Right, so Alice Out of Wonderland, that was one of my campaigns. The other one I started was Anti-Child Abuse Liberation Front. Boy, did I get hell for that. I was told I was a terrorist, and they raided my house, and it was 2 days before the new terrorist act came in. I had all Reclaim Streets flyers, what we were going to do at Reclaim Streets, smash up the city, nothing to do with child abuse, but I had 2 child abuse stickers for our rally. That's what they took out of my house, and they left a note saying, you're a terrorist. So we ran away. Someone put me in a van, and we ran away. I had to run away, and I had to hide. I didn't hide very far. We went to Lizard Festival, parked our tent right next to the police and put a sound system on, and I sang loud. Yeah, so they're always trying to scare you. You don't have to stay in depression. Like I say, wait for the bus. Anyone else who's trying to do anti-child abuse liberation, please come up and apologise to me because you took it from me. Anyone else want to say the picture of me on the fly on 26 outside Parliament wasn't me as a kid with my abuser's finger over my mouth? I love you people, you're trying to help us, and all you, but please do not use any more pictures of me. You said it's not you, it's by another artist. Don't child abusers share pictures? The pictures of me as Alice in Wonderland, it goes Peter Blake, You go to Graham Atherton's page, same pictures. So, you know, I said up there years ago, why don't you buy a pole dancing kit for your kid? And stuff like this about Playboy t-shirts for kids. What did they open in London 10 years later? Playboy Club. Very good. So you've got the bed cover as a kid. You're programmed that when they open it in London, you're going to go and work there. So mind control for your kids. Don't let them watch more than telly for an hour a day. Give them 1 hour a day where they don't have music or telly. And that gives their brain a chance to sort of clear the signals. Don't forget these signals you can't see, I can't see. It's not just, oh, kids are being over-sexual. There's actual mind control signals in things. So get them off that, let them have a break from it. Don't wallow in abuse, wait for the next bus. And I think me and quite a few other people are going to start doing some direct action to get more people here next time. Okay, that's what we need. We need more people here next time. But don't give up. I've been there. I took more overdoses than I've had hot dinners, but that was years ago. One day something switched to me and said, you know what, this little voice was telling me, do this, do that. I said, do you know what, shut up. You can't do this because of that. Shut up, other personality, get a life. Combine all your personalities, because once you split them up, then you've got a problem. Combine them. The woman who, I can't remember her name, but this woman who had 13 Sybil, had 13 personalities. Took 25 years to get her to meet each one and shake their hand and have a hug. You can do that in a day. You go, right, all my personalities, hello, let's have a hug. Right, you can do this, you can do the cleaning, you'll be good at that. Give them jobs. So don't let it, break the taboo. Heal yourself is to talk about it. Every time you talk about it, the pain's less. Yeah? Dance and sing, don't care. If you feel depressed, I put the music on and dance around the house with 2 dogs and 2 cats. That's it, we're off. You know, I don't let it. You don't let it. For every frown you have, every bad thought, you go, remember that time of the seaside? You give it another one, you smile. You don't let them, because what they want is us to get so down that we end it, or we become quiet. No, what we're going to become is louder, number 10, and what we're going to become is more healed. And that is going to do it. That is going to do it. And that man who stood here before me, the one third, what's his name?
Phil.
I don't know who. I'm sure I've seen him before, but you know what? I can see you. Me and you need to chat anyway. But I don't know how you did that, because I could see it in you. Now what they were doing is they've already put signals. So every time you talk about it, you'll get pains, and you'll get. That's how they do it. And I used to get that every time I spoke about it. I used to get pains in my neck, pains in my back, my heart go. And they programmed that in while they're abusing you as a kid, but you don't remember. And that's, you know, there's ways. I've got a page, Anti-Child Abuse Liberation Front, on Facebook. I had one years ago, 5,000 people on it. It's been taken over, obviously, and I can't get in it. So if you want to go to Facebook, go to Anti-Child Abuse Liberation Front, ACAF, we're called, and rejoin me. And then anybody wants to meet, come and have a cup of tea, sit in my house, dance around, plan some direct action, do what you want. I don't hide from police. I'll say I'm coming down here to throw a red pot of paint over Piccadilly Heroes for all the rectums wrecked. I'm really blatant, I don't hide things. When you hide things and you try and do a direct action quietly, they fabricate in court. When you say, no, I came down and dropped that banner off Parliament because you did this, they can't fabricate in court. So it's reality, strength, unity. Minty.
Thank you, Minty. Right, our next speaker is going to be Lucy Duckworth, please. Lucy, are you here? Thank you. Lucy's from Maxas. Have I said that right? I don't know what I'm doing there.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everybody. Sorry, I'm going to read. My name's Lucy Duckworth, and I'm Chair of Minister and Clergy Sexual Abuse Survivors, or MAXAS as you may know it. I'm also a partner, a sister, a friend, a teacher, a student, a colleague, a campaigner, and a child abuse survivor. The problem I have is that most people only see the last one. I was abused by 2 priests throughout my childhood, from the Catholic and the Anglican Church. I've told the police and the church, but neither have acted. Both men, one of whom already has a conviction for abuse, are still living with unfettered access to children on a state and church pension, calling themselves clergymen. Why? Because of their taboo. They silenced an entire community, a community that is scared. And the other girls that were abused have asked me, if I come forward, will I be supported? Will I be judged? Will I be made to believe it's my fault? And will I get a conviction? And I can't answer those questions. So they don't come forward, and these men live happily ever after, despite the destruction they have caused so many. And we as survivors live on the sidelines. For me, it's that culture that has to change right now. I'm 33, and my colleagues were talking about safeguarding procedures that should have been put in place before I was even born. Had they been listened to, I wouldn't be here today, and perhaps those men I told you about would be where they belong, in jail. At Maxas, we support people who were abused in church context of all denominations, but the majority of our work at the moment is with the Church of England and the Catholic Church. I'd like to tell you a bit more about the cover-ups within the church, but I'm not sure you'd believe me.
We would.
Since the inquiry has been announced, we've had a 400% increase in people that have required our services. Since the inquiry has been announced, and I can only speak for myself on this one, but some of you might agree, my life has been turned upside down, with hopes of change, fears of no change, and revisiting the memories of the abuse that scarred my life forever, including the unprecedented amount of work that's generated for our charity. While a bemused society look on with no idea what this could actually mean for the 25% of us, those that live with abuse every day, and for the generations to come that hopefully will never experience the pain we do. The mistrust of authority and above all the anger are things we've all experienced, and we seem to play them out among us, much to the glee of the authorities and the abusers. Society is scared. Non-survivors and survivors alike. They're scared of what could be uncovered, and they're scared of knowing that it happened on our watch. Scared of saying it happened to me, and scared of seeing the pain we're in. But we have to face that fear. We have to own it, and most importantly, help others to own it, so that we can hear and learn from the experiences of those who were abused. This is why I believe this inquiry is the best chance we have. It's not perfect, and we don't even yet know if it's going to be independent, but we need to fight to make sure it is. Without it, no laws will change. Without it, the institutions, the schools, the churches and the government will continue to allow abusers to operate in their midst and cover their tracks because it's in their culture. We get that it's scary, we're scared too, but if we don't see how bad it is, we can't stop it getting worse. We need this inquiry, and we need to make sure it's independent, and we need to make sure it's not infiltrated by those who hurt us.
Yeah.
We need it to conclude that this culture is not okay. It's time to say no. We are not going to allow this tolerance of abuse within our society to continue. And no, we are not going to let those who hurt us irreparably hurt our children in the same way. And no, we are not going to let those who are responsible for the abuse, as well as those who covered it up and failed to report it, get away with it. They will be held to account.
People shouting in the background, there's some Iraqis that are...
Recently, when I was talking to people who aren't survivors or campaigners, I saw the problem. We talk about Jimmy Savile and Rolf Harris and Liam Britton and Cyril Smith, and we talk about the MPs and the entertainment industry and the teachers, and it's all very repulsive and it's very scary to think that children are still being abused by the people in power and that this is happening on our watch. And we talk about it online and we talk about it in the news, which incidentally is often inaccurate, and we tell ourselves that we have dealt with the problem. But not one law has changed. Not one shred of evidence has officially been taken into the inquiry, and we don't know what, if any, support is being put in place to help people like me who live with the pain every day. The great British public think that it's a problem that's been dealt with, and we must not forget that it's in a lot of people's interest for this inquiry not to happen. And it's in an awful lot more people's interest for us survivors to be continued to be labelled as survivors and be separated from society. To be told that post-traumatic stress disorder is a mental health problem that we should feel ashamed by and that it's our fault. If my house got broken into, the insurance would pay for the broken window and the burglar would have a high chance of being prosecuted. My childhood got broken into. Not only do I have to pay to fix it, the burglar won't get prosecuted and I have to believe that it was my fault. This culture has to change and it's everyone's responsibility to make that happen. It doesn't matter whether you have children or not, if you work in the sector or not, if you're a survivor or not, this is your responsibility. We are on the cusp of one of the most important social movements of our history. And those of us that know that have a duty to inform those of us who don't. It will affect generations to come. It will save us millions in the NHS, in the mental health services, the education system and the criminal justice systems. Not as many children will need educational intervention. Children and adults won't end up in A&E, having to spend the rest of their lives wondering what they could possibly have done that was so wrong at such a young age that deserved this, and why no one has helped them then or now. Those 3/4 of the population who weren't abused must become 4/4. It's a wonderful, achievable vision, but don't go anywhere because our work is not done yet. Apartheid was tackled when white people took responsibility and women only got the vote when men started listening too. And look how far both those groups still have to go. Child abuse is at the very start of that journey and our predecessors have put their foot in the door, but we need the whole of society to help us push it open. We need the whole of society to say it is wrong that our children can be raped and abused in school and no one has a legal duty to report it. We need the whole of our society to say it is wrong that private institutions such as schools and churches have no legal requirement to adhere to child protection policies or release the files they keep on survivors and their abusers. And we need the whole of society to stand up and say it is wrong that the children who are raped grow up with a higher statistical chance of failing at education, having a less successful career, having more serious illnesses, dying earlier and being judged and made to feel it was their fault the whole of their lives. Nobody wants this to be the case. We're just too scared to admit that it is. So to those people who aren't abused, I wonder, please question everything. Learn, ask and inform yourself. Abuse, justice, response, survivor, safeguarding. These are all words that we use on a daily basis, but actually they mean a different thing to each person. They mean something different to the survivor, to the safeguarding advisor and to the abuser, to the lawyers who prosecute and the lawyers who defend, and to the non-survivor who's too scared to ask what they actually mean. We need you to ask the questions you're too scared to and make sure you stick around to hear the answers. Please don't judge and please don't assume. Just hear the answer and ask what needs to be done. You will be repulsed and you will be scared, but that's the only way we can change it. We need people to be as repulsed as we are by what happened to us, and we need people to be as devastated as we are by what happened to us, and we need them to own it and help us carry the weight so that we can make sure that it doesn't happen again. Let survivors know they are not alone. Go to your MP and say you want more action. Ask them for an independent inquiry. Ask the Secretariat for an independent inquiry. Go to your child's school and ask them what safeguarding training they get, who runs it, and then support the hundreds of very small yet expert agencies that are the ones truly fighting for an end to the abuse. Oh, thanks. Not the large national charities who make profits and run helplines through their appeal packs and run the risk of being lobbied by the establishment. Get involved and talk. Help us break the taboo. Silence kills. Don't comply with it. What happens with this inquiry will affect generations to come, and it will be talked about for generations to come. What decisions we make today around child abuse law will save thousands, if not millions of lives in future. And what happens now will be judged by history. Make sure you're on the right side of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy from Maxas. I always get that wrong. Lots of things to think about. My fashion sense, I hope you like it. Thanks, Chris. Right, Mr.
Here we go.
Bill Maloney. For those who don't know him,
Here's Bill.
you're about to find out who Bill is.
No swearing. I promise. If I fuck up, let me
Please.
know. Sorry about it, kids. There's a paedophile protector over there. His name's David Cameron.
Yes. Arrest him.
See, I'm all for love and peace, but we ain't going to win this with love and peace. We got people that are going in under the ground, and you'll never know who they are, and that's who I'm representing. Apart from all victims and survivors of institutional paedophile rings, that's who I'm representing. We got some pucker police officers. Did someone throw that at me? We got some pucker police officers working at the moment. But what can you do when your Prime Minister is protecting 76 MPs that are being investigated? Not that have been investigated, they are being investigated. So I don't want to name anyone, but I fell out with Stuart Sivray and John Hemmings, seriously. You get the message? I've fallen out with them, big time. I was escorted. Well, people say I got thrown out of Parliament last week. It was on the 23rd. I never got thrown out. I was escorted out. They didn't touch me. Because I went into Parliament with a serving police officer that I'm working with, just one of them. And the serving police officer said to the police, when I was giving it to the people on the panel at the time, he came up and he said to the police, don't touch him. So we got my police that I'm working with telling those police that they can't touch me. And then, we got now serving police officers that are coming to the street. That's where we're from. We're from the street. That's how they used to control us. Political correctness, the way of speaking, i.e. no swearing, was orchestrated by him over there and the ones before him. We all know about Tony Blair, don't we?
Yeah.
We know about all of them. Do we know about Gordon Brown?
Yes.
Do we? Yeah. It's terrible what's going on. It's evil what's going on. Now, this is the latest thing. They're going to take all the politicians out of Parliament, and I think, is it 9 billion? Is it 9 billion they're doing on it? Am I right?
7.
So when did the million become a billion? When did the million become a billion? Does anyone know how many millions there are in a billion? Anyone?
1,000.
How many?
1,000.
100,000? 1,000?
A million.
So it's easier to say a billion, isn't it, than all those millions, because that's what's happened. Now, they're going to do Buckingham Palace. Buckingham Palace. Jeffrey Epstein went to Buckingham Palace. He's best mates with Prince Andrew.
Yeah.
Prince Charles was best mates with Jimmy Savile.
Oh, yeah.
And Jimmy Savile was not just a paedophile, he was a satanic paedophile. Jimmy Savile was working with Sidney Cook. Who knows who Sidney Cook is?
Yeah.
What a monster.
Yes.
And what has anyone seen the interview with Michael Parkinson and Jimmy Savile, where Jimmy Savile said he procured a young child, a young girl at Balmoral for Philip, Prince Philip? Have you seen that interview? Yeah, check it out. Jimmy Savile, Michael Parkinson, Prince Philip. It's terrible, isn't it? Isn't it terrible? And look at the blackmail value. The Northern Ireland Peace Treaty. Iraq. What did Saddam Hussein know? What did Gaddafi know? A lot of their kids were educated in this country and they mixed with royalty. It had to go. It's horrible, isn't it? How deep can we go? Now, we got a Member of Parliament, God bless him, Simon Danjuk. I heard him crying like a baby on the radio when he was giving an interview, because it has torn the man to shreds, because he knows what I know, but you lot don't know it, I'm afraid. And there's certain things I can't say here, because otherwise it will put the investigations that we're doing. Now, why haven't we got any victims on the abuse inquiry panel? Where's the detectives? Because I tell you what, I've worked with a lot of detectives and they don't know their arse from their elbow. But I don't work with them ones anymore. I work with the ones who do know their arse from their elbow. Now the BBC was going to do a hatchet job on activists and they was going to include me and my company, Pine Mesh Films. So I sent an email to the producer. In that email it said, I demand my right, if you're going to show my work, to have my say on your programme. So they come back, yeah, of course, Bill, of course you can have your right. But what I also put in the email was, if you do interview me, I want the 2 police officers, a detective inspector and a detective sergeant that I've been working with for the last 6 years, and 3 MPs, Danjuk, Watson and Mann, all present. Surprise, surprise, they're not going to do us. Because they don't want that, do they? Because it'll all come out. You're not getting the full picture. You've got journalists that are going crazy because of what they know. We're talking about the trafficking of children. Simon Danjuk the other day is talking about children being raped in Parliament. So what they're going to do, they're going to spend £9 billion on Parliament, and then they're going to do some more billions on Buckingham Palace. So everyone's got to move out. Nothing to do with DNA, is it?
No.
Got it. That is the big thing at the moment. DNA in the Houses of Parliament and Buckingham Palace. Does that make a sense?
Yeah.
Because just a splash of blood, you can tell how old the victim was. A little bit of oil off your skin. It'll stay there for years and years and years. You know what their favourite tool is? The jet washer. That's what they're doing. It's not a conspiracy theory. These are not conspiracy theories anymore. And I want to say, we're filming this, I think. Are we filming this, Chris?
We're broadcasting.
Okay. So I want to really big it up for the people that will never be heard of, that are working underground, and some of them have died. And I've been doing this for 10 years. I was doing drama 5-6 years before, but for the last 10 years I've been doing this, and I've seen people die in very mysterious circumstances, and not just members of my own family. David Cameron was handed a list on TV, morning TV, by Philip Schofield. Did anyone see that?
Yeah.
What did he do? He picked it up. What did he do with it? Put it on the table. He would not accept that list. He would not accept that list. William Hague. He's gone, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Don't like him very much either.
No.
Go. All the politicians that lost their seats, just check them out. They're not all going to be wrong uns, but there is a massive cover-up going on at the moment. The big thing, I'm going to love you and leave you on that, but the big thing is the DNA in Parliament. How can you start refurbishing a building that is a crime scene?
No, you shouldn't be able to.
How? 76 MPs. Oh, and then just down the road, we got Dolphin Square, where one member of Parliament was having sex with a kid while the other one was choking him to death. Have you heard that one? That's in the papers. Murder, torture, rituals. Anyone see Esther a few weeks ago on Sky? Esther, yeah? She was being abused, Esther, in the forest. The forest is a very dangerous place to be taken to be abused, because you're either going to wind up in the ground, but you know it's going to be ritualistic. Anything after that, there ain't going to be no apologies. We ain't getting no apologies from anyone. Listen, God bless all victims and survivors. Love ya. Watch the space. Remember, we are going to war. This is not love and peace.
Right, can someone put this on YouTube immediately?
Thanks, Bill. Brilliant,
Breaking the
as
street.
usual. Don't freak you out when you come up to speak. All right, okay. Now, if any of my speakers today need to speak soon, let me know, please, so we can
Harold Billingsley, then Russell Burton are the next
give you a
speakers.
bit of warning
Welcome.
to speak. You'll be fine. Can you give Karen a warm welcome, guys, because she's very nervous.
Hi everyone, thanks for listening to me. My name's Karen, I'm from Bristol, I'm 32. In 1989, when I was 6 years old, my uncle started to abuse me. This included rapes and sexual assaults. This happened nearly every week of all of my childhood until I was 16 years old. In 2010, I got the courage after 11 years of silence to call the police. I was fed up of hearing he had been going on the latest holidays and enjoying the newest phones, whilst I was depressed, not coping with life, and tried to kill myself a few times. Over the next year, I worked with the police to build a case against him. He was then arrested in the summer of 2011. The police kept him locked up until the court case, as they believed he was a danger to the public. The case in Crown Court began. My video statement was played in court. I sat in a room answering questions via the video link. The setup broke and the court ended for the day. I was then asked if I wanted to stand up in court by my barrister, as I came across very different in person compared to my video. I thought about this for the night, as I was very scared. I turned up at court the next day and agreed to stand up in court and face him. I gave my evidence and answered all the questions. The case continued for the rest of the week without me. A few days later, I was at home after days of waiting for a verdict. It was a very difficult few days. Then, the day after at home, I got a call. I was told all 12 jurors found him guilty of all charges. I went numb. I couldn't talk. My partner Charlie had to take the phone off me as I was a complete mess. I was worried he wouldn't get a long sentence, so a month passed and the dreaded day arrived. I sat in the court while the judge read my victim personal statement. He then asked my uncle, I can say his name because he's in prison at the moment, so Ian Langdale. He asked him to stand up in court. The judge made a short statement to him. I actually looked round at my uncle because I wanted to see the fear in his face. Then I heard the words 18 years. I was totally shocked. I was a complete mess. I left the court and thanked everyone that had helped me through this. I was free at last. A few months passed where I was just in shock. Then all my feelings and anger started to surface. So I thought, instead of it affecting me, I'll try and do something proactive. I set up a Facebook page and a group called Survivors of Child Abuse. I didn't really know what I was going to achieve, but over the years I've spoke to many people across the world and many people have joined. I've not really done anything apart from just listen to people and pass on my knowledge and experience. Now 4 years later, I've spoken to some amazing people, made some great friends and been part of some amazing campaigns. I wouldn't change any of this for the world. Sorry. The people on my page I talk to on a daily basis actually help me recover and realise that we're not alone and there are other people, you know, that are in the same position. I've also been asked to set up a website, which I am aiming to do this year. And that's it really, I just wanted to share that with you. So, yeah, thank you.
Well done, Karen, for being brave and for sharing her story and helping other people on a daily basis. Because sometimes it's just being listened to that starts someone on their road to healing. So, next speaker up is Russell Burton, and after that, can we have Sam Hill, please? So, Sam, be ready.
When I spoke earlier, I asked people to join me at my Facebook page, which is Anti-Child Abuse Liberation Front. Someone else has set up another page called Anti-Child Abuse Liberation. This is not me. So you might end up going on their page instead of mine. Mine is Liberation Front, Anti-Child Abuse Liberation Front. The other one is an anon page. It's not mine. But if you want to find out what we're doing, and if you need any help, and you feel suicidal, like the other girl here, just get in touch with us. Okay, that's all.
Thanks, Minty. So, Russell Burton, please come up.
Thank you, Chris.
Again, speakers are nervous, so please be supportive.
Hiya, guys.
Hi, Russell.
Sorry, nervous, but I'll get through this. They say if you want to change something, you start with yourself. For years my soul has been screaming at me, do something, say something, just make this stop. I stood here last week with 250,000 good people. It was an amazing day of unity and a beautiful atmosphere. I'll be fine. I remember being saddened and essentially thinking this was about money. Even though I understood the ramifications and the political and the social policy of austerity, it was still about money. If only the people had a bit more money in their pocket, most would be happy to go along with the political narrative. I remember thinking, what a different day Westminster would look today if those 250,000 were here right now, supporting the campaign to end the rape and the sexual brutality of children. Today I stand, and I stand with honour, and I stand with pride, but my heart is broken. We stand battered, we stand bruised. We've had the kitchen sink thrown at us online, but we stand. We've cried 1,000 tears, we've opened 1,000,000 minds. This is it, people, the line is in the sand. Defend this, we wake 1,000,000 more minds. Defend this, we earn the right to our freedoms. The world is watching, and we're watching you, Westminster.
Yeah.
25 years I've been on the campaign trail of injustice, corruption and child abuse, and many other causes. In that time, the one contributing factor comes up: control. Some of you may know I made a film last year called Savile and the Ninth Circle. I wanted to try and portray a behind-the-scenes look at institutional pedophilia. It seems since the cradle of civilization, child abuse has been on the map. It's been a system of control by the most powerful of powerful. From the pharaohs to the royals to the Bushes, the Clintons, the Blairs, and you, Mr. Cameron. I believe paedophilia is a trickle-down effect into society from a control system stemming over thousands of years, enforced by bodies such as the Secret Service, MI5, MI6, Tavistock, and many more, using techniques as applied pressure programming. Let me draw you a picture of applied pressure programming, and I'll try to quantise that into you in a week. You're in a cell, the door opens, a torturer walks in. The best you can hope for is death. The next day, he walks in and tortures you again. And on the third day, he repeats the process. On the fourth day, the door opens, the torturer walks in. But something's different this time. This time, he rapes and brutalises you sexually. The fifth, the sixth day, is back to the horrifying torture. The seventh, more rape, more sexual brutality. 5 days of torture, 2 days of rape. Continue with this process and the trauma will force the human mind into its prime directive: survival. It's not long before the knock comes at the door and you pray to God, please do not be the torturer. Welcome to your new psychopathic shillophile. Welcome to your new minister. Welcome to your new TV star, pop star, sports star. Welcome to your new head of social services. Welcome to your new police commissioner. The effects of supply and demand on these monsters ends up bedding into our TV, music and sport. Not to mention the social structure of councils, schools, hospitals, children's social care and the church. All of them selling you a false narrative. All of them rebranding paedophilia as normal. Mr. Cameron, I stand here before you today. Even though I'm repulsed at the man you have become, I understand that the system failed you too. I can only imagine the horrors you must have gone through as a child. But I'm here to talk, not to talk about your childhood. I'm here to talk about the tens of thousands of children being abused, raped, murdered and trafficked in Great Britain PLC. I'm here to talk about the evil known as forced adoption. I'm here to talk about Rotherham 1400, Nottinghamshire care homes, Halifax grooming gangs, Sheffield, Leeds, Liverpool, Tell me about Circle and the trafficking of refugee children. Tell me about the man known as Jimmy Savile, questioned 7 times without charge, but yet invited to Balmoral on more than 20 of occasions. Birthdays and Christmas with the Royals. Where were MR5? I forgot. Those guys were too busy asphyxiating themselves, locked in a suitcase with a cattle prod up their arse. Tell me about Ken Clark. Tell me about Ben Fellows, London Weekend Television, and your involvement in that. Tell me about Margaret Thatcher covering up for paedophilia, Cyril Smith, and a well-known paedophile known to the police. Tell me about Leon Britton and the snuff movies. Tell me about Lord Janner, accused in Parliament of being a serial abuser who attacked children inside Westminster. 14 indecent assaults on a male under 16 between 1969 and 1988. 2 incidents of indecency between 1984 and 1988. 4 accounts of buggery of a male between 16 years of age in 1972 and 1988. Tell me about Edward Heath, the child killer and serial pedophile. Tell me about Patrick Rock. Patrick Rock, David Cameron's online pornography filter, charged with 3 accounts of making indecent photographs of children and in possession of 59 indecent images. They've also known each other 20 years. Tell me about Doug Richard, Dragon's Den star, another multi-million advisor to Prime Minister David Cameron, arrested on suspicion of raping a 13-year-old girl. Tell me about Elm Guesthouse and the role of secret services other than masturbating outside the window. Tell me about Hope de la Garenne and Jersey. Tell me about the hundreds of care homes closed, record sealed for 75 years or more. Let's talk about Holly Gregg and Robert Greene. Let's talk about Melanie Shaw and Sodexo. Let's talk about Mickey Summers and Nottinghamshire City Council Beechwood. Let's talk about Prince Philip, Epstein and the House of fucking Bang Bang. Let's tell me about Harriet Harman and paedophile exchanges. Tell me about the BBC. Tell me about Dolphin Square. Tell me about David Blair. You may know him as Miranda. Charged, fined at Bow Street Magistrate Courts for soliciting outside toilets. Tell me about Max Clifford and Stringfellas. Tell me about Cliff Richard. OBE, summer holiday. More like I'm leaving on a jet plane. I don't know when I'll be back again. Let's talk about Rolf Ellis. Let's talk about Savile OBE. Let's talk about Stuart Hall OBE. Mr. Cameron, let's talk. In the words of Johnny Rotten, have you ever felt cheated? Thank you.
Yeah! Please get that one on YouTube as well. I'm cutting the stream, so I'm thinking.
Well done, Russell. Heard now, at last. I don't think everyone's aware how the institutions are involved, and it's not something deeply complicated. It makes sense when you've been through it. I would never have been, found the abuse that I found had I not moved into an elite environment. And this wasn't till I was about 10, when my grandparents moved to a rich neighbourhood where there were doctors and the Etonian abusers, who were brothers who abused me. They used to come down to the village, and they knew all my school friends. So I know Mr. Cameron about people who've been to Eton. I know he was 19 years older than me. He did teach me rather a lot. They seem to feel it's their duty to impose a little bit of their knowledge as they go along, but I'm not having it. And neither are any of us. We have been silenced too long. And when people have connections, friends who are doctors, friends who are politicians, friends who are judges, they inadvertently and actively support them. And by doing this, they cover up our attempts at reaching justice. And there is a huge them and us situation going on. We are the ones who can do something about this now by breaking this silence. My book, An Oath to Hell, was my start. Is my story in there. There are things in there I can't even talk to you about now. But because this abuser I was an Etonian and lived in my grandparents' neighbourhood, my parents didn't want any of this coming out. I have lost contact with my parents now, and I've broken free from all the systems that controlled me before, that they tried to use to hold me down. Now, I know there are people who've been to children's homes and have suffered enormously, but it's the whole system that's at work here. The doctors prevented me from speaking, and I can't tell you how and where they were involved in my testimony and in my life, because it's a legal matter. I've taken it to the police several times. They didn't want to know, because what happens to survivors is they get rubbished very early on. You get stigmatised very early on, and it stays with you. And when you go and ask for help, you haven't broken away from their control. Someone is still holding something over you. And now it's the time to speak up and time to move forward and break this oath and all the lies that go on in this place here.
Thanks, Sam. Lovely. Thank you. Right, Chris is going to come up and repair this stand. Whilst we do, I'm just going to read a statement out from Survivors Trust. Back in 2000, a small group of 6 women and men who were running survivor-led support charities started meeting up as a peer support group. They were all running support groups for survivors of sexual abuse and rape, struggling to be recognised, often using their own money to fund the groups. There was no national policies or strategies that supported working with survivors of sexual abuse. There weren't any government funding. We were working for what was called an unpopular cause. There weren't any kittens or donkeys to put on collecting tins to pull at people's heartstrings. Just people who had been sexually abused, usually by someone who should have been protecting and caring for them. By 2003, 70 groups had joined together and we finally registered as a charity, the Survivors Trust. You may not have heard of us, but we've continued to grow. Now we have 140 member groups throughout the UK, each of them independent charities who provide direct support, counselling, helplines and advocacy. Many of the groups are small charities, often working on a shoestring, still depending on people to volunteer their time and energy to help survivors reclaim their lives. The Survivors Trust aims to support the people and charities who support survivors. We lobby government and policymakers to try and improve service for survivors, women, men, children and young people. And we've set up service standards to make sure that survivors get the best response possible. We've finally been able to find a way onto national groups at the Department of Health and Ministry of Justice, so that we can raise concerns about the barriers survivors face to getting support, getting justice or compensation. For a long time, it's felt like we've been bashing our heads against a brick wall. No one seemed to want to know about sexual abuse of children. Maybe too painful to hear. And definitely no one wanted to hear about adult survivors and the problems they face. You don't see what you don't want to see. Only now the box has been opened and everyone having to pay attention to what we've been saying for decades, and the lid will not go back on. It's impossible for anyone to ignore the scourge of abuse against children at every level of society, in institutions, in churches, in schools, in nurseries, in their own homes. The news is full of it day after day and no one can pretend it's okay. It feels like society's in shock. Anyone is when they find out a child has been abused. But it brings hope as well. If we're talking about children being abused, it means we know what the problem is and we can start working on finding solutions. If we can hear the voices of survivors, we can learn how to make things different for the children who need to be safe now. God, I don't know what. It really feels as though we're at the start of a massive change in how society reacts to child abuse, and everyone here today is part of that change. We won't be stopped now, and that's from the Survivors Trust. Okay, so Carly, where are you? Is Carly here still? No, Carly? Okay, right, we then... Carly, sorry darling, you come in? So, give Carly Cullis, please, a survivor, a round of applause, thank you. Okay.
I'm not a very good public speaker, so bear with me. Hello? No. It took me until I was aged 24 to go to the police and give a statement about abuse I'd suffered aged 10 and 11. It took me 13 years of guilt
and shame to realise it wasn't me who should be feeling either, it should have been him. When I bundled myself in clothes each day for school, scared that someone may notice my body in the same way that he was building a new life that would later protect him from facing a custodial sentence for the crimes he committed. My eldest sister's now ex-fiancé had been part of our family for 6 years, and he was loved by all of us. I trusted him, so when he restrained me by holding me so tight I couldn't break free, no matter how hard I tried, I believed him. When he said he just wanted a hug, I believed him when he told me that I was the one being mean for fighting back as he forced me to masturbate him, and I believed him when he told me my parents would be annoyed at me. When he woke me up at age 11 in the middle of the night and asked to come into my bed for a hug, I said no, but saying no didn't stop him. He had pled guilty the day of the trial to coming into my room on this occasion. He pled guilty to chasing me between 2 rooms as I tried to escape him by pushing a toy chest against my door. He pled guilty to grinding his penis against me or touching my vagina and nipples. He pled guilty to once again holding me down and forcing me to masturbate him. He pled guilty. But tonight he walks free with a mere £500 fine and some community service. Because he has a family, the judge tells me, a mortgage, a life, a company. The judge tells me that the stigma of being a convicted paedophile and the stress of awaiting trial was punishment enough. The judge tells me he is otherwise a man of good character. For years, if I felt someone's hand when it was slightly moist from the heat or having washed them, it would trigger panic attacks, flashbacks of the feeling of his sweating hands all over my body. I self-harmed through my teenage years to cope and have been left scarred. I always felt too ashamed and too guilty to really talk about what had happened. The shame and guilt that I have lived with for years certainly felt like a punishment. The shame and guilt he has to feel now as a convicted paedophile is punishment enough, the judge tells me. In 2012, almost 7,000 paedophiles found guilty of sexually abusing children. A shocking 280. In 2012, out of an almost 7,000 paedophiles found guilty of sexually. In 2012, out of almost 7,000 paedophiles found guilty of sexually abusing children, a shocking 2,862 avoided prison. That's more than 40%. Most were given community sentences, while 605 received suspended sentences and 41 got away with a fine. Another 1,700 sex offenders got away with police caution, according to government figures. Without a custodial sentence of 30 months to life, they will be off the sex offender register within a maximum of 10 years. In 2015, the life-shattering and harmful consequences of sexually abusing a child are well known. Research has established a strong relationship between child sex abuse and adverse mental health issues for victims. This includes post-traumatic stress disorder, self-harm, depression, substance abuse, eating disorders, helplessness, negative attributions, aggressive behaviours, conduct problems and anxiety. All victims of childhood sexual abuse have been denied the basic human right of consenting to their first sexual experience. This cannot be remedied and is as such a life sentence for the victim. How then can we justify a system that allows perpetrators to walk free with a mere fine or community service? It is an insult to victims of this crime and excuses an act which is profoundly inexcusable. I would like to ask you to join me in seeking justice for victims of child abuse. Please go to the website change.org and sign the petition calling for mandatory minimum custodial sentences to be introduced for anyone convicted of the sexual assault of a minor. Or alternatively, you can enter the web address tiny.cc/MOG into your browser. Thank you for listening.
Well done, Carly. Very brave. Very brave. It needs to be held up because this is going to be Okay, we've got Chris. Chris is going to speak next, and then we do have Tracy, because I know Tracy has got to go as well. So, Chris, if you don't know him, set all this thing up for you today, guys.
Hello there. My name's Chris, and most of you probably know me as UK Database. My website now is named 42,000 Convicted Paedophiles. Okay, I've got a little speech here. I'm not very good. I'm normally behind a computer, so I'm not very good for public talking. Okay, here we go. Murder, rape, kidnap and torture. These are the words that are most associated to horror films. Add to them lies, cover-up and the systematic and often sadistic abuse of children, and what are you left with? You're left with a vile network of high-powered and well-connected child abusers who escape justice and exposure because they work under the umbrella of Westminster.
Yeah.
There is no sector of the establishment that remains distant from paedophilia in and around our famous capital of London. The royal family, the government, the security forces, the police and the courts of justice have all played their part in an attempt to cover up decades of the abuse inflicted on this country's children. Powerful players within the corridors of politics, including Mr. Cameron, still have a vested interest in not only covering up the evil deeds of the past, but also indulging those who have and still engage in these heinous crimes by protecting them from prosecution.
Yeah.
The Prime Minister has continued to deny any form of justice to the victims by repeatedly downplaying the cover-up and the involvement of such politicians. Mr. Cameron, the abuse of children is very real, and it is certainly no conspiracy. So now on to the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse. It was announced by the Home Secretary, Theresa May, on the 7th of July last year. Since then, there have been no arrests.
Disgraceful.
But we are now on to our third chair. What can we actually hope from this inquiry? Well, I'm not totally decided on that. However, if they continue to drag their feet, then all the abusers will probably be dead by the time anything's done. So anyway, over the past few years, we've seen awful cases of sexual abuse and child exploitation. Hidden from sight, often hidden in plain sight. The sexual exploitation of young girls in Rotherham and other cities within the UK has demonstrated the scale of manipulation and abuse carried out by gangs of men, and also the failures of both police and social workers to act because of racial elements. The abuse of over 500 young people by Jimmy Savile, the prosecutions and imprisonments of trusted celebrities and childhood heroes, the scale of abuse of children within children's homes, including North Wales and Nottinghamshire, the excuses, the failures and the cover-ups by institutions who knew about the abuse but did nothing. Recent statistics by the NSPCC show that 1 in 20 children in the UK have been sexually abused. We do not know the full picture though, however. We simply don't know how widespread the abuse of children is because of the nature of the abuse, the secrecy and the stigma attached. Too often abused children become disruptive as a result of the abuse they've suffered. They are then labelled as a problem child, while the underlying cause of their behaviour, the actual abuse they are suffering, goes undetected. The scars run deep, both for those young people affected throughout their lives and also for their families. Ultimately, child abuse is an abuse of power, using their power to silence their victims and cover their tracks, destroying those children's confidence and trust in others, creating a terrible sense of powerlessness and hopelessness against victims as they grow and develop. Responsibility for these awful crimes against children always lies with the abusers and never the victims. Those who turn a blind eye are also abusing their power. The power to ignore victims because they are children. The power to put the reputation of the abuser or the institution above the safety of the child. The power to silence others because the issue is taboo or too difficult to tackle. We cannot stand for this any longer. Society has a moral duty to act. Within the last year, there's been a 35% increase of reports to police relating to child sexual abuse. But there are 15% fewer cases reaching courtrooms, and convictions are down by 12%. Every child matters, every child should be heard, and every child's safety is valued. We now have the chance to shine a light into the dark corners where abuse went undetected for years. The chance to bring abusers to justice, and the chance to safeguard our children. But to do so, we have to accept that this isn't just historic abuse. There are many children suffering abuse right now and today. The scandals and cover-ups of the future are happening right now. The government and society as a whole needs to wake up to it. Do not let future generations look back at us with contempt because we failed to act. Finally, I want to thank you all for your support you've shown me over the past decade. Awareness and education equals prevention. So, for all the victims and families of child abuse, this rally is for you. We will be your voice. Children have rights in society.
Wonderful, thank you, Chris. Okay, so we now have Tracy. Then we have Mickey, and then I will tell you the next name after that. Okay, so Nigel is the next name. Thanks, Tracy. You're right. Is that one okay?
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
My name's Tracy Morris, originally from Belfast. I came here in 1998. Because of domestic violence trouble in Northern Ireland. For nearly 2 years, things went fine. I was getting divorced, and I went to Ivan Geffen Solicitors and saw a solicitor there. I had no reason to suspect anything. But one night, on the 19th of June, at 9 p.m. at night, on Monday night, a man came to my door. He said he was Ivan Geffen, whose office was dealing with my divorce. I hadn't ever met him. He asked who I was, and I told him. I invited him into my home. I was surprised that he knew about my past and why I had left Northern Ireland. He said that he and his wife had been helping out less privileged single parents, families, for the previous 10 years by taking them to adventure parks, the Lake Districts near Glasgow, where his cousin owned a grand house. He told me he would take 2 boys from one family and 2 girls from another. He said he preferred boys in combat shorts and little girls in skirts, especially when you took him to the lakes. He also said little girls needed to take a change of pants, as when they play in the water, they tend to get wet, and as he went into the woods with them, they would have to go behind a tree to change. I was concerned and told him I would speak to my children the next day and would ring him about it. Little did he know, I was about to bring down the biggest paedophile ring in the West Midlands in 40 years. When I asked someone I knew in the Civic Centre about this with my consent, he informed the police, who came and took a long statement from me. The policeman told me they had Ivan Geffen under surveillance for over 2 years. After that, 2 CID from Birmingham, Child Protection Unit, came to me, wired my home phone so that they could listen in when the call was made by Ivan Geffen. He called and asked to visit my children, and I gave him an excuse and put him off. A couple of weeks later, CID came and said that they had spoken to Ivan Geffen about this call. He didn't deny phoning me. He said he would continue to take children out, and there was nothing they could do. When I learnt that Ivan Geffen knew that I had told the police about him, I arranged for my children to be moved immediately back to Belfast, as I was scared for their lives. When I was alone in England, my tires were sliced. Nothing like this had happened to me before. I reported Ivan Geffen. I was then put into a safe house by the police. I brought my children back to me. After further terrifying events, I read that Ivan Geffen had been charged with abuse of many children, and so for safety, I returned to Northern Ireland with my children. When the trial began, I was flown to Leicester to give evidence. I was brought through the back entrance of Leicester Crown Court and was brought to an underground room for my safety, as I was told. I was told there was a lot of witnesses that day giving evidence. I was brought up to the court and asked if I could identify anyone. I could. Ivan Geffen was there, eating a sandwich. I then waited to give evidence. Counsel came to me to take my evidence. I give this to her. I understood that although this statement was taken downstairs, that it was my evidence to be given to the court. I was then brought to Birmingham Airport and sent back to Belfast. Not long after this, I was phoned and told that Ivan Geffen had been found guilty but would not serve time in prison because of his age and ill health. I was basically told he would be dead in 2 years. I was told not to read up about it and to get on with my life. This I will explain in a minute why I didn't read up on it. I read no more, as I believed that justice had been done, even though the sentence was completely inappropriate. For years I believed that this is what happened. I have only recently discovered that he had been acquitted of all charges, that my evidence wasn't even used. I only found this out when looking it up to speak to you all here today. Ivan Geffen was charged with abusing many children, hundreds of little girls. I could have given evidence. I went to England to give my evidence, but it was not used. And Ivan Geffen was acquitted for lack of evidence. My evidence. Let me tell you, people here today in London, when I, for the first time, Googled Ivan Geffen's name in almost 15 years, the reason being was because my own daughter had been abused by paramilitary paedophile rings in Belfast. Whilst I was out in Geffen, my young child was rushed to a hospital where I'd found out she had been abused back in Northern Ireland even before I escaped domestic violence. My daughter was abused by the man who raped me. This is why we escaped. I didn't realise my daughter had been abused. She had kept it a secret all those years. My daughter's bowels collapsed. She was rushed to a Manor Hospital in Walsall. She was seriously ill. She was bunged with faeces up to her neck, in her ribs. She was critical. She was rushed to Birmingham Children's Hospital, where she remained for 5 weeks. She had to learn how to walk all over again. She was in a wheelchair. She had to have physio every day. I was outside Birmingham Hospital one night and I read the paper. Ivan Geffen had been charged with child abuse. With this, I was afraid for my life because he only lived in Solihull, Birmingham. This man was a very dangerous man. I am telling you now here today, this is my statement of evidence. I am demanding a public inquiry into why the police who helped me bring Ivan Geffen down, why they covered it up to the highest ranks. I know why. Ivan Geffen was one of the biggest paedophile rings across the West Midlands for over 40 years. Ivan Geffen had 6 properties across the Midlands. Ivan Geffen had garden parties, all little girls. I am calling for all victims of Ivan Geffen to come forward. It doesn't matter if he's dead 2 years. Doesn't matter if he's been dead 10 years. Ivan Geffen was acquitted of all charges. He was put on a pedestal, and I'm here to take him straight back off it.
Yeah! Well, a big scandal brewing then.
I fought all paramilitary organisations across Ireland, across Belfast. When I got back, I asked for a meeting with Gerry Adams. I was concerned about what happened to my child, and I knew that it was within the ranks of the paramilitary organisations throughout Belfast that was happening all over Ireland. Back then, it was coming to the Good Friday Agreement, the peace process. My mum asked me, what do you think of the peace process? And I said, Mum, when the peace process comes in, Northern Ireland isn't going to know what hit it. Because all the victims of the paramilitary paedophile rings across Ireland, them are free to come forward and get their justice. Within 18 months, Northern Ireland was drowning with victims coming forward. These victims, to this day, only 1 out of every 100 got justice. I met with the prosecution service in 2010 whilst fighting my own daughter's case, who has never got anywhere, but I can trust me, she will. I asked the prosecution service who was their paedophile round their table. They didn't understand what I was talking about. They knew what I was talking about. I asked them, who is the paedophile round your table? For if you're only convicting 1 perpetrator out of every 100, you are sending 99 perpetrators into our communities to rain more abuse on our children. And by the time I'm done with you, Mr. Stephen Burnside, it's going to be 99 victims getting justice and 1 let go. The reason why I'm here today is through Belinda and the Hampstead case of the Hampstead children. Let me tell you this, London, UK and around the globe. These children are not lying. This is the biggest cover-up of all kinds. You can put the smartest person in a room to be brainwashed. The most intelligent person worked on them for a long time and they still couldn't come out with that. That is just not happening. These children are being taken from their mother. Their father, along with the biggest satanic abuse cult running across the West Midlands, across the world, this is happening. This has been happening for tens and tens of years. I can assure you all here today, what we need to do and what we plan to do, we need to build our own grand jury.
Yes!
We need to form a chain across the globe. A chain that can never be broken. We need to protect our children, our children's children, and their children. What are we going to do when we're not here? Who's going to protect our kids? And let me tell you this. The reason why it's as bad as it is today is because nobody listened. No one will listen. I can assure you that Ivan Geffen was most definitely connected to Jimmy Savile, Lord Jenner, and the rest of them. And the reason why Geffen was acquitted and my evidence was hidden was because the truth would have come out 15 years ago and not just now. I'm standing here today. I have came here. I've listened to people's stories. And fair play to you all, because you are all survivors. Every last one is. We're all survivors. When I was told my daughter was abused, and the seriousness of her abuse, the rape he inflicted upon me was nothing. I never needed counselling for what he did to me again, because I thank God to this day that he did rape me, because I got away and that meant he never got to harm my little girl again. But Geffen, he thought he was coming for fresh food when he came to my door that night. Little did Ivan Geffen know, I wasn't a vulnerable single parent living in Walsall. My kids weren't underprivileged. My kids travelled to Belfast 5 times a year My kids had the best holidays, and I worked with people high up in the environmental health in the Civic Centre in Walsall. I was not stupid, far from it. What do they call us West Belfasties? At the end of the day, everybody thinks the Irish are dumb. Well, Geffen thought he was dumb when he rapped my door. I was dumb when he rapped my door. Well, the day Ivan Geffen rapped my door, I ended his abuse. He was never able to touch any children again, but the police, I have sent an email, the West Midlands Police, asking Heather, who helped me bring him down, how did she go on to become Chief Inspector of Coventry after the trial? How did she become so big? And why did she call me to tell me Ivan Geffen was found guilty? Let me tell you why. If she had told me Ivan Geffen was acquitted, she knew I wouldn't have accepted that. I knew I would have went to my legal representative and I would have asked for an inquiry into how he was acquitted. So she lied to me through her teeth, told me he was found guilty and he would be dead in 2 years. Far from it. Please, everybody here today, listen to me and listen to me well. People of London, UK, Ireland, Northern Ireland, the globe, across the world, get out and fight for our kids. And if you can't, then stop having kids. Because if you can't get out there and fight for your children's rights to a life, do not have kids. If you are not strong enough to fight for your kids and to keep them safe, do not conceive any. Because you are handing them to the biggest cult rings and the biggest paedophile rings across this country. I can assure you, I'm here to stay. We are going to build a grand jury, and they're not getting away with it. They're not getting away with this. Northern Ireland is coming to help. There's people in Northern Ireland willing to help. We together will form that chain, never to be broken. Thank you, London.
Thank you, Tracy, very much.
Tracy, can you please get Tracy's onto YouTube?
Right, before
somebody?
the lovely Mickey
Joe Public.
Thank you very much, Chris. Do you understand why this was so important? Do you see why we had to do this way today? You can't get this at your average demo with a megaphone. You don't get the impact that you need to. You have to understand that these people have gone through more than we can possibly imagine. But I want to draw a line under that. But I'd like to say thank you to everyone that's turned up. There are people come from Bradford, Leeds, Hull, all over the country where the team and I have been out canvassing, raising awareness and promoting this event. But I want to talk briefly about the recent developments. We've come a long way since Parliament, and I'm so glad today because I look around and there's like a couple of hundred people here, whereas with Parliament it was just like me on my jack, and it was quite scary. I was scared. But I want to get to the crux of the matter that we've got at the moment with Jana. Now, I'm going to bring up Jana this specifically because, as we've seen the breaking news in the last couple of days, they're going to have a trial of the facts. Whoopee! No, not whoopee at all. In fact, it's not acceptable. We want a fair trial, the same that would be given to someone like Joe Public. In other words, it's all very well having a trial with him not there and no punishment assigned. And no, he doesn't have to sit in the court and listen. What good is that? And are we going to set a precedent with that? Will the next accused political rapist, child rapist, come out and suddenly have dementia? And we'll do the same as we did with Jana. Well, it's not good enough. These people need to be tried in a public court by a jury of their peers. Now, Jana may have been a peer, but he's not anymore in my book. As far as I'm concerned, until we get to the bottom of the matter, he has to be treated as a member of the public. And by that, he needs to be taught. He needs to be taught that when you're in the public eye, you don't escape being you're not immune to political or police investigations. At the moment they are, and it's not being addressed by any of the media. They are immune from prosecution at the moment. They are immune from questioning. They are immune from prosecution on any matters that they aren't caught in the act on. So if they're not caught actually raping the child, then they can't be investigated. Having said that, though, these are ongoing crimes, are they not? Because I believe these crimes are still occurring. Children from care homes are disappearing at a phenomenal rate, and nobody knows where they're going. But the idea of child trafficking and child sexploitation is an organised international crime. And there is a syndicate of very rich and very powerful people that have tentacles that stretch all the way down to people like Frank Beck and Sidney Cook. These were your fixers for the politicians. They got their hands dirty, they went to jail, they died in jail. But not the politicians. As far as I'm concerned, the biggest problem we have lives in that building over there. He's made it quite clear, David Cameron. That's the biggest problem we've got. Because he has blocked, stifled, derailed, suppressed, and done everything in his power to dilute the gravity of what we're talking about. And as far as I'm concerned, that man shouldn't even be in office. Like we must address the situation. I think I heard someone say earlier that Cameron's offered 16 names at the time by Philip Schofield, and he refused point blank to take them. He tried to turn it into a homosexual issue. He said, we don't want to turn it into a witch hunt for gays, which is right. It's nothing to do with being gay. It's to do with raping children. It's two different matters entirely. So we've moved on from that now. Then it was 24 suspected paedophile MPs when I was outside Parliament. Now it's 76. Where do we draw the line? 76 members of Parliament is almost 20%. 20% of our government. That's unacceptable. These people are making policies for this country. Those people that have been raping, murdering and torturing children are making policies for this country. No wonder we're fucked. We need to get them out. We need the media. It was great last night to see The Last Leg on Channel 4. I don't know if anyone saw it. A guy called Adam Hill. Big up to Adam Hill. Well done. Finally mentioned it as on mainstream news. He mentioned the word, you know, they are raping children, they've been screwing children, and he wasn't joking. You know, I'd be surprised if he had a job. I did actually tweet him and ask him to come down today, but I haven't checked my tweets to see if he showed up or not. But a lot of people joke throughout the show that he probably won't be there next week. He'll probably be fired. He probably will. But he should have come down here today and got the recognition he deserved for that. Anyway, I'm going to draw a line under what I've got to say now, and with one last thing. On the 8th, I believe it's the 8th is what day? Wednesday next week, Manchester, the Midland Hotel, 2 p.m. So if you're up north, pay a close attention. Child Protective Services are having all the heads of all the country all turn up there for a conference, like the bailiffs did with the banks. It's the same hotel. It has about 17 entrances, just to be warned. But they're all going to be there at 2 o'clock on Wednesday the 8th. And I think it would be massive if we could get all the survivors, all the campaigners and everybody here to Manchester on that day at 2 o'clock to repeat this performance. Let's show them that this isn't going to go away and they can't keep brushing it under the carpet. It's on for 3 days. So it's over a 3-day period. So if you've got friends up north, make some time to go up and see them. Is it Wednesday, Thursday and Friday? So there you go. If you've got half a week spare and you've got friends up north, go and network with the people here now. Go and stay on their sofas. I've been doing it for the last 2 months, and I've met some blinding people that are all here today. And thank you all so much for looking after me. Thank you all so much. It was a pleasure. The only thing I can say that really made a difference for me was that everywhere I went, everybody's saying the same as you. Yeah. It's unacceptable. It has to stop. And we now need our police to step up and do the job, just like Leicester are trying to do the job so well with Jana. Until the Met Police turn up, until the Met Police up their game, and until Hampshire Police up their game, Kent, Sussex, they're all below par. Above par we have one at the moment, and that's Leicester Police, and I'd like to publicly thank Assistant Chief Constable Roger Bannister for doing his level best to bring Jana to justice for the 9 victims that he's had already. Thank you very much. I'm Joe Public.
There we go, Joe Public.
Thank you, Joe Public. Right, now we have Kaz up, then we have Diane, and then we have Amish. Is Amish around? Amish around? No? Okay. Kelly. Is Kelly around? Right, okay. I've just got Kelly. Kaz, welcome. Round of applause for Kaz, everyone, please.
Right, as Joe was just saying, in 2 weeks' time, actually, not in a week, as he said, in Manchester, there's the conference for the directors of social services. Now, that is being held by a company that is operated under Tri-X. Tri-X, if you haven't heard of them, provide policies for over 200 safeguarding units across the UK. That is for children, adults, disabilities, mental health, elderly. In December of last year, one of their directors had to step down because he was about to stand trial for crimes against children when he worked as a residential social worker in the 80s. He was trained on site by the last paedophile policy provider, Peter Wrighton. Having read some of the policies that they are putting out, they are just a regurgitation of the original policies written by Wrighton. So we've got paedophile guy providing policies for safeguarding, trained by a paedophile, and all the policies are actually available on their website for anyone to see. Why is everyone paying this company thousands of pounds every year? Why are they employing paedophiles to do it?
Yeah, why?
Well done, Karen. Get your stuff, darling. Well done. Okay, Diane, please. Now, Diane is my sister. She's a survivor, and she's been quite battered and bruised by what she's gone through. So please show her your support.
Hang on, can you see me? I've never done this before, so bear with me. Yeah, they're my poems that I write. They make me do it. Right, this is after child abuse. Sometimes, when life gets a bit mad and hectic, when things happen, you get emotional baggage. Every little thing turns into a mountain. It becomes too much to contend with. Every little problem becomes a massive feeling vulnerable and fragile at these times. Every little bit of criticism and rebuff is taken to heart, as if you were still that child that is suffering. Some of my thoughts are silly and irrational. I get flustered, frustrated, and at times I'm very manic. It's difficult to function normally. Where am I? Sometimes my judgment and reactions are blown out of proportion. What? Where am I? I wasn't living a life. I was existing in a twilight world. Where am I? A heavy burden, secrets, shame and blame. I was overwhelmed, felt abandoned. What's that say? I'm extremely hurt and I've always felt rejected. I am traumatised, unhappy and depressed. Having low self-esteem and no confidence has cost me dear. Where am I? I haven't lived for myself. I've been trying to run from my memories. Am I? Reliving in nightmares. Waking up confused. I protected myself with an invisible wall. What's that say? Of isolation. Internalising the pain and just shutting myself down. There are days when I retreat and my emotions take over. By wallowing in self-pity, abuse is still winning. Speaking up and writing about abuse set me free. I have taken back my life and my power. Now I'm in charge of my own destinies and desires. I have accepted myself and will reach the stars. Being so unhappy is a disease, an abuser's delight, but a victim's Armageddon. Just let it all out. It's extremely unfair on my child as well. He doesn't understand why mummy is so sad. I've lost all the shame and I've removed all the blame. I'm not a statistic, no longer a victim. Now I am just me.
Hey.
Well done, sis, well done. Okay, next we have Kelly. Kelly, well done. Come up, Kelly, please.
Hey guys, since Tuesday I've spent my time in my head. I came out of court on Tuesday where Justice King said that it's tragic how severe my child abuse was, and they will not release 2 of my children even though they know what's going on. And they re-gagged me. They re-gagged all of the witnesses that were in court and reminded me that this time they will take me for a further committal to prison if I choose to speak out. But the thing is, it's not about my voice. It's about my children's, and not just my children, but every other child that social service is taking. And there is sexual abuse, there is physical abuse, there is emotional abuse, and we do need a child protection service. But when the abuse is happening by social workers, and I have a file where a social worker, as I came out about the abuse and rape that I was going through, said, "Callie is attractive in a street corner kind of way, do not believe her lies." It's them that labelled me as an attention seeker. But I didn't fail myself. I went on and I did my degree in psychology. I became one of Robbins's top intervention coach. But now they have a right to use my foster care file against me to now detain 2 of my children. Now, there is a tragic situation going on at the moment where those who have been subjected to sexual abuse are having their files used against them. And one of the biggest problems is judges and social workers are not qualified to read a psychological report. I sat with a few people this week as I went through lists and lists and lists of diagnoses that I was given up until I was sectioned when I was 19. They now want to medicate me again. They now want to put me back in and force me into 2 years therapy that I've already had. Now, the real hard thing about this is there's 2 children who I do know where they are. I do know what's going on with them, and they are persistently asking for their mum. They are persistently now acting out in exactly the same way that I did, and the pattern needs to be broken. The cycle needs to be broken. So I've got 2 choices. It was the final hurdle for me in the Royal Courts of Justice the other day, and a barrister wanted me to stand by mental health and not by the failure of social services. And there's a mass problem going on in social services where they are getting paperwork wrong. And the thing is, if they get something wrong and they put their hands up, they are liable, therefore they are suable. So they won't do it. And they persistently cover it up. Now, on the 6th of June, I will be going back to Witney, where David Cameron has to make a decision whether he's going to prosecute me. And what people may know is at the election day, you had Hayden on one side as David Cameron came out on hitting him with Come Clean, and then you had me on the other side hitting him with Halt the Adoption Drive. And then you had me in the middle as his car went off on one way and then a load of police jumped all over me. But the police are on our side. There are police officers who are genuinely coming forward. There are social workers coming forward. There are MPs coming forward. But we've got David down here, and I first ever broke my gag after my children were taken. I'd lost my appeal, and I thought, whoa, there's an event down here. And I came down to this event where there was 50 parents, yet this is a mass problem. So literally on the, when is it, Dave? 19th. So literally for 1 week, Scott, stolen children of the UK and Forced Adoption Exposed are going to be coming together. Now, last year, I hid around in Parliament and I was constantly lobbying Theresa May over child abuse and the children that were being taken, and she still refuses to meet with me. So I've now moved to London to make it a little bit easier. I've now made sure that I've got addresses in Witney, so David Cameron is my MP. I've made sure that I've got addresses all around the UK where the most people that we need to speak to need to do something. Now, the one person that we all need to be targeting is Edward Timpson. He is the Education Minister, and their family own Timpson shops. So it's all about the key. It's all about the key that we have and the lock that we open. And we've got to stand together. But behind David and I, there is very few parents that will actually stand up against the removal of their children. They will sit on Facebook, and I'm not here to persecute them, because they are gagged. They are in depression, and they are in a place of fear. So I sat there as I came out of court the other day, watching these red buses, thinking I cannot do 13 years waiting for my children until I can tell them the truth. These red buses some days look really good to me. And as I came out of court, I had a group of friends who stayed in front of me knowing how I felt. So I went along and saw the Masters of Roll. I've gone and videoed, and most of my court cases videoed. And as you'll know, over the last 3 years, we've had Sid, who's pretty much been walking around the UK, finding as many people as possible who have gone through sexual abuse or been failed by social services. And he's out there on his own yet again. But the in-house bitching that goes on in social media is the one thing that abuses me more than any abuse that I have ever been through, and it's time that it stops. The in-house bullying has got to stop. It makes you worse. It makes you worse than the people that we've been dealing with. And it really is time now that there's a really good collective of people here, and I'm really not good for talking short time, so I will remember. But today, literally, there are 3 judges who've stood in front of me who know the failure of social services. But the thing that really annoys me is they class us as victims and vulnerable, because it is a mindset and it is a label that stops us stepping forward and holding them accountable. Because as long as we are victims, we don't feel we have any power. But guess what? There is a mass amount of us that are coming together, and the one thing that's got to stop is the in-house targeting, because there is a lot of people on the front line who are willing to break gags, who are willing to come forward, because ultimately I owe nothing to none of you, no disrespect. The only people I owe a voice to is my children, and by doing that I also give a voice to other children. And we do have to stand as individuals with our own story, but stand together as many individuals as one damn voice. So I will be coming forward, I will be putting my head above the parapet. My judgment will come back out this week. The last judgment that came out made it very clear that I don't trust this system, and they can't give me my children back until I'm willing to work with it. So I am going to be working with the system. I'm in a very different way that I'll be working with the system. Now, we have, what people don't realise, there's a strategy going off underneath Facebook where we've had people running as MPs. Now, there is going to be about 30 people who are going to be in Parliament who have been selected as MPs, but they work on our side. There are people who have been coming forward, and legals as well, who are waiting. And they're just waiting for the right time where parents start to stand up, because they can't do it without our stories. Now, I have so many people who come forward to me through the inner circle, through the paedophilia circle, and I am drowning, because every day I hear another story, and we all do. Every day we hear another story, another story, another story. But there are people who are on the front line who are burning out. And they're not burning out because of the stories that they get, they're burning out because of the in-house targeting and bickering. I am not a social worker, I do not work for the MI5, and I am not an infiltrator, I'm a mum. I'm a mum who's got 2 children, and Cheryl, it's got to stop. I'm a mum who has 2 children who are currently in foster care, who in the next few weeks they will be rubber stamping the adoption of my children. But I've got 2 teenage boys, and they cannot even say their brother and sister's name. Now, this is the difference. We're strong enough. We can talk between ourselves. We can share our stories. We can break down on people's shoulders. We can give each other a hug. But our children who are in these services cannot tell anybody how they feel and what is going on. And we are all, you need to be united. And I've got so much gratitude to people, the work that Cheryl has been doing, and if people will know who she is, how far she's come as individuals, how far. Cornell is here, David is here, and you know, we're all here. But it's time now that the child abuse and those with foster care for forced adoption come together, because it's our foster care records, now we're adults, that's being used against us. And they've just launched in Parliament now the new group that's going to come forward, but it is going to mean that children are going to be taken left, right and centre. So my main object while I'm down in London is to halt the adoption drive. And we really do need more and more people. If your children have been taken by social services, I've stood by David for 3 years. And that man, every year will be here all week. And I see the amount of trolling that goes on in with David, and it's got to stop because he's a dad. And people need to start remembering that we are all human beings. We've all got our own story. Some of the stories I hear, mine is nothing into comparison to what I hear through other people. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how severe or how little, we've all been persecuted by this system. And David Cameron, on the 6th, has to bring a witness statement in. And when he does, Come Clean with Child Abuse and Halt the Adoption Drive will be brought into Witney Court. And when they do that, we'll go public even further, and they have to bring it into the court arena. So it really is going to take for more parents to remember, if they haven't got the balls to come forward, they're losing their child's voice. And our children are the ones who need that voice. And nobody else is going to do it except for their mums and dads. And if the mums and dads are down, then somebody needs to do it for the mum and dad. And every time one of us falls, we've all got to help pick each other back up and start again. And this is where it starts. This is where things move forward. It's about us all uniting. And when somebody is being bullied by somebody else within a group, it's not personal. We're triggering each other permanently. And this is where we've got to realise that we do sometimes have alienation issues. We do actually have attachment disorders, if they want to label us. And I may stand united, but I've got the biggest trust issues there is in working with people. And when people tell me on a daily basis they love me, I want to run down there and run away from it. When people give me a hug, I want to break down and cry, because that's not how I was raised. The people in courts are the first people to actually tell me that I'm highly intelligent and all of this, because I've been raised stupid, a victim and a liar and attention seeker. So please, the strongest people on the front line are the ones who need more and more and more support. And then we will have more people on the front line, more people raised up. And that's when we will finally hold them accountable. So, yeah, gag this.
Yeah, gag this.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Right, Mark Alzano, are you here, Mark? Or has Mark gone home?
You going up?
Mark, up you come. And then we have Cornell Brown and David Jenkins. So, guys, we just want to get as many people as possible speaking before all that noise kicks off with the London Pride March. So, Mark's up now, and then Cornell and David's up next.
I've got about a quarter of my battery left at the moment,
so try and keep it short and sweet from you, Mark.
I will be very, very quick. I just feel it's worth a mention, because there's something that it's a bit taboo. Not everyone really talks about it, especially the press. It's Kate and Jerry McCann. We've all heard of them. I think everyone's got an opinion on them. In my opinion, they buried Marilyn McCann in Portugal. Yes. They know where she's buried, and it's been covered up by Gordon Brown, Tony Blair, and David Cameron, Rupert Murdoch, you name it, it goes all the way to the top. So I think by uncovering the McCanns and not so scared of the McCanns, I don't give a shit what they do to me. The point is, you've got to get the message out there. That's why I've been walking around with the banner. It says Google Cat 19309. I won't say what it is. You Google it. Buried by mainstream media. It's a 4-hour documentary by Richard D. Hall. It's got everything in it. Just Google buried by mainstream media. The McCanns are guilty as sin, in my opinion. Okay.
Lost me job then. Right, okay, we have Cornell Brown, please, and David Jenkins, and apparently Pride are not coming down here. So we... Oh, sorry. I'm sacked. I don't even know this lady's name. She will tell me in a moment. Stevie, give Stevie a round of applause. But apparently Pride are not coming down here, so we've got a lot of more time. So if you want to speak, come and let Chris know. Thank you.
Okay, in 1965, my mum had left us. I suffered attempted rape and historical sexual abuse by Dad when I was 4 to 15 years old. He cleared off with Mum's best friend when Mum returned. I always shouted about Dad in regular arguments within the remainder of the family. Nothing ever done about it. In January 2013, I'd done a video statement at Salisbury Police Station. I was advised to leave messages if I think of anything that might help towards evidence, which I did. I added my annoyance of no one being questioned about me being raped by a friend's brother in 1973 when I was 13, which had been reported to the Met Police years later when I realised it was a crime. Between January 13 and March 14, my abuser was arrested and charged with 12 offences, 6 of gross indecency with a girl under 14 and 6 of indecent assault on a girl under 14. We went to court about 4 times. April last year, the Crown Prosecution Service cancelled the trial because of the rape. I said they told me I've made 2 allegations of rape, one by my friend's brother and one by a friend of my brother. It's the same person anyway, and it was one rape by him. 12th of April last year, my investigator was due to bring me the official letter of the Crown Prosecution Service's decision. I couldn't accept that letter of the judicial system telling me my whole sex-abused childhood was a lie. I was on autopilot and attempted suicide in my car on Salisbury Plain. My investigator and the police searched across the plains and found me. I sought a review with the CPS, which led them to tell me they made the right decision. No. I continued writing to them, telling them that they've based their decision on a written mistake, which was irrelevant anyway. They told me if I write back to them, they'll place my letter in the file and mark it as no further replies. During all this, I'd been banned from driving for 3 months due to the suicide attempt and was refused access to my medical records, which I'd always believed I had rights to. The rape and rapist was irrelevant to my case. It was just an expression of truth and annoyance. The charges against my abuser and all the hard work done by my investigator still stood strong. With the CPS's door slammed on me and Salisbury Mental Health's door now wide open and diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder, which I've had all my life, though diagnosed 1 year ago, I began writing my anger down and put some of it in the form of letters through my abuser's letterbox between 3 and 4 in the mornings, just telling him the truth and the cunt that he is. After a verbal and written warning, I was arrested and cautioned for harassment of an old man. Photos taken, searched, fingerprints and DNA swabs, the works, for reacting to my perv escaping justice. A duty solicitor told me to apply to Criminal Injuries Compensation Authority, which I did. They said under paragraph 19 of the scheme, an award will not be made in respect of a criminal injury sustained before October the 1st, 1979, if, at the time of the incident, given rise to that injury, the applicant and the assailant were living together as members of the same family. I was 4 or 5 when my mum had gone away, forcing me to stay with my abuser. I had no choices to escape that situation. I've had a review done by Criminal Injuries Compensation Authority, who still can't make an award. I don't accept their decision again and will appeal to the first tier tribunal. I wrote to my MP, Claire Perry,
who has written to Robert Buckland MP, Solicitor General, and to the Chief Executive of the Criminal Injuries Compensation Authority about the time limit on claiming for abuse and waiting on their response. Those 16 paragraphs of events are all because of being a victim of historical sexual abuse and no justice. I couldn't fight to get my dad off me during my childhood. I can't get justice for what he done to me. Why? Because the Crown bloody Prosecution Service make decisions in favour of nonces. I can't even get revenge for what he done to me. Why? Because the police force have to look after the nonces. I can't get compensation for what he done to me. Why? Why? Because my nonce is my dad, who I was forced to live with instead of clearing off with mum. The sexual abuse and the rape all those years ago is the life sentence on me now without parole. He lives his happy life with the contentment of sexual satisfaction on me. He has the rest of the family support him just as they did in their statements prior to him attending court. This life sentence of my crime scenes has no justice, no revenge, no compensation. Sexual abuse, whether historical, recent or photographic, is a life sentence of mental and physical pain for the victim. If the Criminal Injuries Compensation Authority are getting this, historical sex abuse doesn't mean it didn't happen just because it was before 1979. It means you've lived with it since it happened millions of times over. If the Crown Prosecution Service and our government are getting this, justice has to happen first. Stop blocking the evidence. If the judicial system are getting this, for us survivors of child sex abuse, true justice is life sentencing or hanging. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, wasn't that quite powerful what this lady's been through, what a lot of us have been through. And what is she meant to do? She can't get no justice, she can't get any revenge on her abuser, so that shit just goes on round and round in your head until it does give you a mental illness of some kind, and then there's no support for your mental illness, which makes you get ill. The system is just not right. We need the victims and survivors to be put first. We need our health to be looked after. Right, coming up now is Cornell Brown and David Jenkins, please.
And how much longer my battery's going to last here?
Are we on? Hello, everybody. My name is Cornell Brown. I'll speak first, David. Yeah, go on. I'd just like to say, that I'm sick and tired of basically all these children in the UK getting abused by the system. Now, I think it's about time that everyone in this world stands together, right? Because every year turns by, right, and we have the new year coming. Now, if all of us stand together and actually save those children, I think we need to change the law in this country today, because the way I see things, why should that man over there, David Cameron, get away with this, Anybody in this country can get arrested, and that is all he is, he's just a man, So we need to basically do, the proper justice, right, and have him arrested, because he has committed treason, He's not so perfect, he left his daughter in the pub. That is what David Cameron did. But, hold on a minute, if it was one of us, what would happen to us? Oh, I forgot. Social services will take our children away for neglect. Right? And it's about time we wake up and smell the coffee and see what's going on. All of us here, we need to stand together and start some sort of revolution in this world. Because I tell you something, we are all mums and dads, and I've been abused as well, right? And I want to basically expose about the secret family courts in the UK as well, what is going on in Wells Street, because apparently none of us are not allowed in the family courts because they cover all the allegations up, right? And it's criminal what they're doing in these courts, and I don't agree what is going on. So we are more stronger than them. There's more of us than them in this world, and we have to stop child abuse. And Mr. Cameron, guess what? We're coming for you, Mr. Cameron, because you're not perfect. We know you're propaganda. Operation Fernbridge, Operation U-Tree, Mr. Cameron. Yeah? And there's other parents in this world. We will get justice in this world one day. Because you know what? God is not sleeping. I tell you that for now. There is a God. And he may be invisible, but he's hearing our prayers all the time. And you know what? They even say that people with learning difficulties don't know what they're saying. But I actually do. You know? Because Kelly, she's a survivor, right? And she's fighting all the way. And I've seen how she fights. And you know what? The laws has to change in this world. We have to do something. And the care orders can be broken. Because what you do, you have to discharge them. Yeah, it is a possibility. You fill in a C1 form and it can be discharged. It's only an order. It's basically like when you're in school. If someone orders you to do something, that means you have to do it. But it doesn't necessarily mean you have to do what they say. You know? But you got to learn to listen, and obviously we have to fight for justice. You know? Because no justice, no peace. Go along, David.
Go on there, Cornell. And Cornell, he is a proper warrior. Believe he'll stand for the children. Listen, I'll just start by saying I've heard you all speak today, and seriously, I have been in tears over there, especially that young girl. I did break down for that young girl. They done me, literally, to the max. I have been a victim. I have been sexually abused. I ain't going to go into that, right? I was a victim for 35 years. 2012, I got triggered by the Savile shit on the TV, right? 35 years I was a victim. And guess what? I didn't become a survivor. At the end of the day, I was already fighting for my kids, right? I went from victim and I'm becoming a warrior. Believe, right? This man in here, right? He is coming out. And I demand you police officers put down your weapons and you open the gates and let us arrest the man if you're not willing to. Hand down your weapons, take off your uniforms. You are us, we are you. And if you're not going to do it with your operations, then expect us, Operation Death Eaters. We are coming for you. And let me just say, social services, we are coming for our children too. But there is no way around it, social services. Risk of future emotional harm. Social services, Berkshire yesterday. A judge and social services in Berkshire yesterday handed over a child, a 2-year-old child, right, to a convicted child rapist, who is the father, right? So, basically, your justification for risk of future emotional harm on our children is out the window. We want our children home. And I will be back here in 2 weeks' time, Mr. Cameron, and I will go 24/7 on the mic against you and your paedophile ring, and we will come and get you, Mr. Cameron. If it means me climbing that gate, and if you want to shoot me, you fucking shoot me, because my kids will come first. Put your weapons down, or I'll test you.
Cameron out! Cameron out! Cameron out!
Cameron out! Cameron out! Cameron out! Yes, fucking Cameron!
Lots of passion there. Lots of passion there. Right, guys, in the group, my sister would like to speak another poem, but I would also like to give any of you guys an opportunity to come and speak.
I'm going to have to have a short break, about 10 minutes, to let the battery recover a bit.
So just come and see me,
Oh,
guys.
sorry about this, that's riveting stuff, but my battery's got to recover a little bit. I will be back.
Hiya, my name's Gemma Fox, and I was abused at the age of 7 by my father. He actually went to court and for gross indecent assault, which is now, I don't have that charge, it's now rape. He got 1 year's probation. My mother was also a paedophile. Social services and the police were fully aware of what they were, and they still left me. I've had to deal with this for the whole of my life. I had to watch my best friend lose her children for what she went through. I met my sister-in-law, and I had to watch her have her children taken for no reason whatsoever. I wouldn't stand on this stage and tell you that she did not deserve them children taken if she didn't. I want every child. I don't want any child to go through what I have been through. I think if we all pull together, stop fucking fighting, stop trolling each other, and put it all together, we can actually do this. But we ain't gonna do it unless we all get together. We need to make a change. It cannot go on like this.
We need justice.
We do need justice. I ain't ever gonna get justice. My mother's never sat in the police station for what she's done to me, and it never looks like she is. My brother was raped by a husband. She was watching me be abused by my father, and she was taking him to Cubs to be abused by her next husband. He grew up angry because he thought that I was loved more because she got rid of my father. But she wasn't. She was already in a relationship with the next man. She didn't love me at all. Andrew grew up angry and he began to rape me too. And he's actually in court next month for 3 counts of rape on me as a child. And we need to all pull together to stop this. We really do. That's all really I've got to say. Is that we need to work together and we need to make a change.
Cheers, Bill. Thank you, Daniela. Right, now this little boy, Fergus, come here. He's got his mum's permission, his mum and dad's permission to speak, so I don't know what he's speaking about, but show him your support, please.
David Cameron's got to stop abusing children, otherwise we're gonna get people who can rule the world better than David Cameron.
You certainly can. Oh, the mouths of babes.
Okay, anyone else want to come up to the podium whilst you've got a chance, because otherwise we will be finishing. Right, okay. So, guys, the objectives of today was about empowering you guys to come forward and have a voice, and I think we've achieved that, yes?
Yeah.
It's about raising awareness of the impact of child abuse on an individual's mental, emotional, physical health, and getting appropriate help and support, which is not there at the moment, but we will get it. It's about keeping the pressure on the inquiry, on government, on David Cameron, to make sure that we get the changes that we need to help us go forwards and fulfil our potential. If we was not abused as children, we could have been the next Prime Minister or the next whatever. But that abuse kept a lot of us back, educationally, professionally. But it's up to us to take on board what has been said here today and go away and get together and fight to go forward. But also, guys, to look after ourselves, our own health and our own well-being. That's really important. Self-sabotage through cutting, self-harming, drinking, drugs. It's self-sabotaging. You are hurting yourself over again. Your abusers already hurt you, so why are you hurting yourselves again and again? You need to find healthier ways to deal with your anger, your frustrations. It was not your fault, so why are you over and over again hurting yourselves? Let's find healthier ways to deal with the anger and the frustration, and let's help you rebuild your lives, reclaim your kids, and lead a happier and healthier life. That's what today's all about, to get that message across. And we deserve to be happy, we deserve to be healthy. So let's just keep getting united and keep the fighting spirit going. Thank you all for coming today. Yeah. Mickey wants the final word, as always. I thought I was getting the final word. Let's pass you over to Mickey.
Yeah, thank you all for turning out. I'd like you all to do me just one big favour. Stand up and give the organisers of today's event a rapturous round of applause.
Thank you for that, but this gentleman's just come forward and he would like to say something.
All I want to say is every single one of you come up here today, you're all beautiful, you're all proud, look at you all, and you're so brave, and fuck them. You're all strong, and you're everything and anything. Don't be, I don't know how many times I've cried behind this mask today. You're all so brave, stick together, we'll get them out, fuck them. I don't want to swear because they're children. Just like that, yeah? Just like that, fuck them. Well done, you're all beautiful, thank you.
And my last word is that not all MPs, not all police, not all social services are bad. There are many out there trying to help us, and we need them on side. We need the whistleblowers to come and help us move forwards with what we need to reclaim our lives. So please, when you do mention police, social services and MPs, they are not all bad. Thank you.
And I just want to say, Brenda McNamara, for all those you know of her, she couldn't attend today because her daughter died of cancer a couple of days ago, and we just want to wish Brenda all the best. Thank you very much. Children do have rights in society.
I'll be back in there for a while. I've got to let this battery recover a bit.
Hello again.
Right.
I wanted to sing a song to end it.
Yeah.
I don't know which one to do. You've all heard them. Which one should I do, Fee? Alright. This one is called They Live by the River. They're called Parliamental. Place where I lie, a little load of water, but beneath the slimy river, beside the slimy river, lies the demon of this slaughter. What's their name? Mental, we're going with Parliamental. But that is one of them. I think the one that is appropriate for today, from what I've seen, Miss Cameron did not show face, so I might as well do the other one. This is called a microphone. It's my gun. So when I say gun, I mean a microphone, not a weapon. Yeah? So get a gun and kill a politician before they come and rape all your little children. Gunshot fire, what just come alive, sir? You could rule, say rule entire, but the people are gonna take you down. So get a gun and fire, what's just coming alive, sir? A little bit of me, you are, them are, whole entire gonna burn in the fire. Politician, get a gun, ha ha ha. You see me now got on the run, ha ha ha. Politician, get a gun, ha ha ha. Not suicide, I mean take a life. So get a gun. I said a microphone, not a weapon. So you can tell everyone that the politician, some of them rape a little children. Okay? So when them others say fire burn, angry up the she's going to turn. She'll go up in the sky, make a cloud and fly. She'll bring rain and flood, so no you go bye-bye. So bring a drip, say way-oh. Bring a drip, say way-oh. Flood Cameron's houses, leave the poor ones at the side. So how come say in California, how come say the holy water only killed the rich man's house, did not the poor's one? It's not a dream, it's prophecy. It's not a thing that comes from me. It's nature doing her own thing. She's giving rhythm. She's the sea. He is the sun. Holy fire come. What this? What that? Good gosh, bitch boss, they're taking a wash. I wish they'd rinse their souls, and I hope the fire and the water come cleanse them. Because he's right, I'm going in the gate too. Give it a couple of weeks, I don't care. Peace to everyone, heal yourselves. Smile like she said. Stop hurting yourselves. That's what they want. They want you to roll over and die. They want you to cut yourself, get drunk. If you need help, contact us. There's loads of us that said today, come to us. We'll help you get off drink. We'll help you stop cutting everything. Hold ice if you feel you're going to cut yourself. Hold ice in your hand. It's the same feeling. And you'll stop. Okay, bye.
Bye, Minty. Right, guys, don't forget there's some national helplines out there. NAPAC. There's Survivors Trust. There is Southmead Project. There is lots of organisations out there that can help if you need it. Kelly needs to say one more thing.
Hey guys, as I was saying earlier on, I'm a strategist, so I need everybody to connect with a guy called David Mortimer. Now I'm going to send you over the links. Now this is the funny thing, right? It's a really serious stuff that we go on about, so let's have some fun with this, okay? What you basically do is you go on to the Family Reform, and it's the megaphone. Now it's in our network, it's cost a bloody fortune to do this, but it's really cool. It literally, you take one email that comes from your email account, it goes to every MP, every EMP, every paperwork person, and all the heads of government. But what you do is it's registered by your postcode, so they'll message you back to say you're not in our constituency, therefore we were going to email yours. So then 646 emails get sent to one person about you. Other people do it. Keeps logging up their email account all day, so they haven't even got time to work on their crap. They're too busy dealing with ours, right? Now on Monday, Monique Blakemore, one of my best friends, is going to be in United Nations. She's also meeting with the head of United Nations, and Google are about to hit a lot of our tweets. There's some unofficial people. With every negative, there is a positive. With every shit situation, there's a silver lining. For every bad, there's good. Polarity exists, yeah? So, for every system that is corrupt, we have angels who are all ready to push the button. So we need everyone to get their own personal stories, the situations that they're dealing with, the groups that they represent, and one word I need everybody to do. We must halt the adoption drive and call an investigation. And then it goes on through the family courts, the judiciary, Parliament, and then into everything that we all stand for, because we all represent the people and they work for us. They are servants, and you'll be pleased to know that, do you remember Rainbow Woman with all the plaits, and who remembers bloody Play School? Right, she's now on board. We've got ambassadors in the House of Lords coming on board with our stuff. So I'm too knackered dealing with my own personal stuff that more and more people are stepping up for my stuff, because I'm damn drowning. And I've given the cause a sacrifice to my own children. And now my children have to be my cause and my mission. And as an individual, if one person trolls me saying it's all about me, you can fuck off out my way, because I'm losing my children for a cause and a mission that people don't support me with. And I have a lot of support, but people won't stand with me. They'll stand behind me. Now I need people to stand shoulder and shoulder to halt the adoption drive, call a public inquiry, and help us come out of the dark and into the light, because we are gagged. We have no voice, and neither does our children. And we need your networks to your networks to your networks, and social media is going to kick ass. But we have got to take it to the streets. So join Scott. If you are somebody under social services, and like Belinda says, even if it doesn't affect you, stand up for those it does. And then please join us and line this street with every child missing pair of shoes, every scam picture, everything that you've got for every child who is screaming to be heard. And we are the adults with a voice, and now we got to give our children a voice. Because honey is around Oxford waiting for the day I go back to face David Cameron in court. And I tell you what, fucking bring it on! All of us! We are strong! We are united! And it stops now! Not in 8 years' time, now! Megaphone, by the way. I'll send it out to you and hit them.
Thank you, Kelly. I think this is the final word.
Just a little point on forced adoption, right? What we got to accept, and we know for a fact, is paedophiles have been in our government and in our parliament for decades, right? The 1989 Children Act was actually written by paedophiles. So if it was written by paedophiles to steal our children, then forced adoptions can and will be overturned because it actually shows there was criminal intentions when they wrote it.
Yes.
Thank you everyone for coming. This is the final word because they need to pack the stage and the microphones up, etc. Really thank you all for coming, and I just want to say that all the rallies before this one have built on this one. Yeah? This one will go on to build on to more. Chris Whitwer and I will not probably be co-hosting the next one. It'll be someone else's turn. But just come out and support them as you have us and as you have supported in the past. Okay, thank you guys. Well done.
Yes, yes, hi.
You're the live stream man.
I am, yes.
How do you do?
Fine, thank you.
Good.
Pretty good day today. The battery's nearly dead though. I'm going to have to give it a rest and then maybe I'll go...
Hello the world!
Yes. I will be back a bit later, but I am going to give the battery a rest for another 10 minutes or so. So I'll come back in a bit. If only that was a real tank. You're live. Just turn the turret and fire. Tanks outside Downing Street. This is particularly a protest against Putin, I think. But we have a tank outside Downing Street and the police don't seem to be that bothered. It's not a real tank, unfortunately. And those in the police guarding that scumbag are particularly worried. I've just got a bit of battery left, but I thought this was worth recording. The Gay Pride tank. Outside Downing Street seems to have broken down for some reason in a rather unfortunate place. back a bit. What do you think of the tank? Shame it's not real, isn't it?
If it turned around, took the gate out, we can all go in there and just remind them they work for us.
Yeah, that's right.
Even at the Parliament the other day, they said we're public servants and that's what we do. We're Parliament, we represent the people, we work for the people.
Yeah.
So they need to actually know that they need to do what we're saying. We are. So it's the way it is.
Yeah.
Are you streaming?
Yes, we're going live.
Which network have you got today? This guy is the Mountains of Bamboo. Yeah, we got a few from last year.
Yeah.
And we're coming back. So we were all on Parliament Square from the 16th of July last year and the year before. We've been doing this 5 years. I only came in with you guys 2013 and we came down here to Scott. And on that day we lobbied Theresa May in Parliament for child abuse and for the forced adoption. She still refuses to meet with me. So literally on the 6th of June I'm going back to Whitney where I'm either going to be charged or released from what I did with David Cameron on election night. So if you haven't seen it, check out what happened when I got arrested. I've been on bail. I've got draconian gagging orders. Everybody who was in court last Tuesday all got gagged and I got gagged. So basically, I've lost permission to oppose the adoption order. I've lost my appeal, but the only way is, this is the last hurdle. This is a forced adoption. This is 2 children, Aaron and Faith, who were named in the media in 2010. They're my 2 children. And I've got 2 other children, Liam and Daniel, who I ask people to respect because they're struggling. So everything that goes out on social media, please remember, this is my personal life. We have a right to a private life. In the family court, we have a right to a private life. But when something's going wrong, when they're submitting false statements, the independent reviewing officer and complaints are not allowed in the court. James Mumby says he wants the family court open. We don't. We do have a right to family life. We want independent reviewing officers to come in. We need the ombudsman. Now in 2010, the original of social services. On Monday, to the main people of the United Nations for Halt the Adoption Drive. This system is in fucking chaos. Left, right and centre. Different variables, different things going on, from the paedophile circle to the fracking to everything. It all links up and we must connect the dots. By doing this, we've got to put all of our attention into the adoption drive. No, I'll knock you out. My brother's gay, my cousin's gay, many of my family are gay. We cannot judge anybody. No person has a right until they've walked somebody's shoes to judge anybody. Yet these presiding judges are judging us based on psychological reports. My degree is in psychology, I can read the DSM. Judges are not qualified, so they are taking our children. As soon as the child abuse inquiry hits, we're going to be forced, if you're on benefits, into medication and treatment. They're going to force the treatment on you that you're asking for and control it. Too many people are being sectioned, people in mental health are being institutionalised, and the picture is much bigger. People are in prison. We still have people in prison who are standing up for this cause. Hayden is still in prison. I'm about to go to prison for a cause. I believe underneath this cause is individual cases. So please, there are people choosing to come forward and say they might have got my body, but they will never take my soul. I am a child abuse overcomer. I am not a victim and I did not survive. I overcome and you have no power over us. And they're going to give them immunity. So we can't speak out about our own stories because it would highlight who our abusers were. Well, my abusers is the education system and social services. They're the people who are systematically abusing my children. Justice does not take 8 years. Paperwork, processes, rules and regulations do. I am a trained interventionalist, trained by one of the biggest family social science psychologists through the Robbins Institute. Now, if we bring this matter in, what they're doing is labelling people. Where's the help? Where's the support? We have a right to come forward when we come forward, not wait 8 years for justice.
Why is it taking so long?
So it can't take long. It's formalities, it's laws, and it's bills. We the people must have a voice, and as adults we stand for the children that we once were. The children who never got justice.
Why is it taking so long?
Exactly. The reason it's taking so long is because people aren't coming forward with their cases. We've got mass amount of emails of people who are too scared to come forward. They know the problem is going on. We've got good people working, but until we can show the mass of the problem, or you don't even have to say who you are, you just have to give yourself a number if you don't want a voice. A lot of people are scared because once there's good people, there's bad people. We have the inner circle children, and if they're named, they're scared for their lives, so they won't come forward. Walk for Justice and Belinda here has a network of people who are under battle for Britain's children, but we've got to move to the solution, and Belinda stands for pro-child, not anti the problem, pro the solution.
What's the solution?
Community.
Right.
We must stand together as communities and come together and support each other for one mass filing, a judicial review on the adoption, because that will bring family courts in, that will bring child abuse in. It's the tip of the iceberg, and one by one we can knock this down. So we need to bring together a common mission, and it's not against. I will be outside Trafalgar Square. We don't know when it's going to happen, but I will be naked and I will have red tape bound around me. I've got to file my paperwork first, and then rather than being scaled, I'm going to be making a very artistic, dramatic, and we're bringing together a play called Stolen, which is going to represent the story of what's happening. Flash mobs. But the only way we can do this is for people to have a commitment to the cause. Whether it takes 8 years, 18 years, the mission has to stay the same, and we've got to all commit. We're burning out. Belinda, no, we're not burning out. We were burning out at the child abuse inquiry, because story after story after story, this lady sits up till stupid o'clock in the morning gathering all of your stories, all of the emails, getting people out there to get on Belinda's database. Get on the database of the people with the strongest networks so we can all come together. But abuse victims, the heart reject, and they are alienating themselves. We're all individuals with a story, but we've got to learn to trust each other. We've got to learn to stand together and stop trolling and bringing each other down. It hurts. It hurts to share your story, but they've taken away our right to a private life, because what they're doing needs to be held accountable. Personal responsibility, but accountability. Victims won't push back. We don't want to fight. We want to make a stand, and that's why we've all got to come together. Fighting just drains you out. It's rounds and rounds and rounds. But when we stand and we link together, we're stronger. So we must unite in order to hold these accountable, and we need justice now, before Christmas. And the only way we can do that is one common mission, one cause, which is basically to be pro-family. Everything's about the child. But if mum and dad are not right, neither are the children. And parents need to be accountable for their own children. And if they're not speaking out, if they're not standing up, then you are actually not standing up for your child. And I've had children message me this week to say, my mum never fought for me. You bring me courage that somebody does. So by coming forward, it's not you're standing up for, it's your child and the future of our entire generation of children that ultimately now, in 8 years' time, they'll be in the prisons, they'll be in the courts, they'll be facing the exact same problem that we are now. So we've got to break the cycle. It's about breaking the cycle. It's about bringing the light dark into the lightness and exposing what's going on. But we've got to move to a solution. And the one thing that's holding people back is paperwork. There's people with dyslexia, there's people with learning difficulties. So if you're any good at paperwork, if you can write sentences, if you know how to do filing, then come and join us down here at Scott, where people can't deal with their paperwork. Help them fill forms out, help them file things, and help them attack back. And that's basically what we've got want to do. It will speed up as soon as they have everybody's forms. So connect with the Child Abuse Inquiry, get them in, get your forms in, let them know what's going on, and let's get justice for us all people, because literally as from Monday they're going to start proceedings to adopt 2 of my children, and I've got to fight for my family and make that the cause. So Kelly Cotton, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Forced Adoption Exposed. We've got to halt this adoption drive, so it's time for the people of Britain to step up. So catch me on social media, help share things out, and together we really are stronger.
Okay, thanks for that, Kelly. I'm going to pause again for a bit, let the battery have a recovery. We're clearing up a bit here now, but get the word out. The survivors are coming together, and that tank's still there.